Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Biliran Province State University School of Teacher Education free BLEPT Webview. So this runs from September 16 to 23, 2021. Now, before we start, let's have first our preliminaries to start with the Philippine National Anthem and to be followed by the prayer.
Alam ng puso sa dilim mo'y buhay, lupang hinirang, nguyat ka ng mag-ibig, sa manlulupig, di ka masisingil, sa dagatan mundong sa simay at sa langit mo'y butang, may nilagang mula namin sa maglayang minamahal, ang isat ng matawan mo'y tagumpay ka nag-iinig, ang bituing nagkaroon ng kailan, abay manilinig, lupa ng karangalan, bakit ang singko, bumalay namin sa piling mo. Ang ligaya na pagpay mga api, mga manay ng dahil sa'yo.
Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. And it's in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
Now, before I move on to the introduction of our lecturer, may I remind everyone that we do have a group chat for the Webview and a closed group wherein you can review the recorded videos of the past reviews. And we've already done the review for English, math last year. So it is available in the closed group and you may review it. Now, to introduce our lecturer for today, this morning, may I call on my colleague, Mr. Mark Christian Almazan.
To our lecturer, to my colleague, Ma'am PJ and Sir Jason, who are assigned to facilitate the smooth conduct of our review. Ladies and gentlemen, our reviewees, good morning. May I have the honor to present our lecture this morning. Our topic this morning is more on the general education science, and our lecturer is the Observer's Choice Award during the National Conference on Methodological Advances in Research, or the NCMAR, in 2019. Currently pursuing Master of Arts in Education, major in Advanced Science Education at Eastern Visayas State University, and a proud alumna of Leyte Normal University with a degree, Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in Biological Sciences. And she graduated cum laude in Leyte Normal University. So, a good friend of mine, ladies and gentlemen, Annaliza A. Amable. Hello, ma'am. Good morning.
All right. Hello. Good morning. Were you able to hear me? Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Loud
Yes,
and clear.
ma'am.
Okay. Sige. Thank
Yes,
you.
yes, ma'am.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right. So we have, if I'm not mistaken, we have 6 participants, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Alright, okay na yan. So, ibig sabihin, 6 lang talaga yung interested, no, na pumasa yung let. Ayan, so good morning, everyone. How are you? So, I am so excited to share my knowledge about science, no, to those participants who are here right now. Ayan, but before we start, syempre, we have to set the tone first. Let's have okay lang ba? Let's have a short energizer. Okay lang ba mga sir and madam?
Yes, ma'am. Of
Okay,
course.
oo.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Importante na
Sure,
ma-energize din
ma'am.
yung mga cells natin, no?
Yes.
So
Started
that,
very right.
para para maging active lahat, di ba? Alright, sige, let me share this energizer. Wait lang. Sir, yung pag-present ba, entire screen or window lang?
Ma'am, you may share a window lang po. Just
Okay.
open your PowerPoint first, then you share that window.
Alright. Thank you. Wait lang. Alright, may nag-reflect na ba, sir?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
Alright, sige, let's have this energizer, no? And then we'll start na. Okay? I hope everybody will participate this energizer, no? Para masaya lahat.
No audio po, ma'am.
Sorry, sir. May audio po ba?
Wala po.
Wala po.
Okay.
Murag, i-on ang imuhang,
Ang saan ni sir?
or pakusgon tingali ng imuhang kuan, ma'am, volume. Then i-on ang imong mic.
Kanya tanggal.
Oh, naka-on na siya. Kana?
Kailangan kasi sir, kailangan nakabukas yung speaker niyo.
Naka-headset kasi sa sir.
Okay, sige. Let me try again. I will unplug my speaker. I mean my headphone. Kana?
Much better, ma'am. Much better.
Okay.
Yes,
sige,
ma'am,
sige.
yes.
Okay. How about that one? Okay na yung audio, sir? Mas louder? I mean, louder siya?
Okay na po, ma'am.
Yes, po.
Alright.
I got this feeling inside my bones. It goes electric wavy when I turn it on. Off from my city, off from my home. We're flying up no ceiling when we in our zone. I got that sunshine in my pocket, got that good song in my feet. Feel that good in my pocket when it drops. Ooh, I can't take my eyes off of it.
Papa Sam. Participate mo, participate.
already know. It's just oh, something magical. It's in the air, it's in my blood, it's rushing on. I don't need no reason, don't be control. I'm so high, no ceiling when I'm in my zone. Cause I got that sunshine in my pocket, that so in my feet. Feel that power in my pocket, it drops. Ooh, I can't take my eyes off it. Moving so phenomenally. You're more like a baby rocket, so don't stop that. Eyes, everything goes. No matter how getting you close. When we move, you already know. It's just a see but you dance, dance, dance. Creeping up on you, so just dance, dance, dance. Almost things I shouldn't do, but you dance, dance, dance. Ain't nobody like that, so keep dancing. So just dance, dance, dance. So just dance, dance, dance. So just dance, dance,
All right. Maybe that's already enough, no? Okay, wait.
Yes, ma'am. Na-energize na me.
Energize na mo? Did you participate?
Yes
Yes, it
naman.
was a great sit-down exercise.
Yeah. All right. So again, good morning everyone to our web viewers and also to my colleagues, Sir Almasan, Ma'am TJ, and Sir Jason. No? Okay, let me fix first my cam here. Nahuhulog siya. Ayan. Okay na po ba? Nakikita na po ba ako? Okay, so before I start my review or the review, let me introduce again myself first. Just a short introduction lang. By the way, thank you, Sir Almasan, for introducing me a while ago. Again, I am Miss Annaliza Amable. So my field of specialization is biological sciences. So I'm teaching science and research subjects for both college and senior high school level. And also, I was assigned to handle junior high school science. Ayun. So, yes, I graduated at LNU, no, with a degree of Bachelor of Secondary Education major in Biological Sciences. And currently, I'm pursuing my master's degree at BiPSU. I'm currently taking Masters of Arts in Education, major in Advanced Science Education. So, without further ado, shall we start na ba? I'm so excited. It's already 8:37. Ayan. Ay, si Ma'am Mira is, nag-join si Ma'am Mira. Hi, Ma'am Mira. Good morning. All right. So, let me share. Ayan. All right. Okay. By the way, Sir Almasan, may nag-reflect na po ba? Sa screen?
Yes po, ma'am.
All right. Okay. So again, I will be your review master. I'll be your reviewer for the General Education Science review for the year 2021. So I hope no kayong lahat ay papasa. And I hope isa ako doon no. I will be the I mean isa ako sa makakatulong char sa inyo, di ba? When it comes to science knowledge. So here, when we talk about general education, actually, yung kailangan lang natin dito are this, ABC knowledge. So what are these ABC knowledge? When you talk about ABC knowledge, actually, pag sinabi natin A, no, it's an active knowledge. Ibig sabihin, the knowledge that you need for Gen Ed is are those knowledge na ano ba tawag doon? Current or sabihin natin when we talk about active, hello sir? Wait. Hello?
Pwede ni mo ma-share ang entire screen siguro ma'am kay murag first
Lagi.
slide.
Oo, wait lang. So, entire screen na lang na ako, sir?
Opo ma'am para bongga.
Okay, okay. Kana, sir? Okay na? Hello, sir? How about that, sir? Okay na po.
Yes ma'am.
All right. Okay. So again, in general education, all we need are these ABC knowledge. So A for active knowledge, meaning these are the knowledge that are that will be useful in everyday or day-to-day life that we have, no? And when we talk about, I mean, when we have this basic knowledge, of course, these are the knowledge na basic lang or simple knowledge na kailangan, no? Or kailangan na malaman or alam ng isang tao. And last is this current. So most of the questions na nandun sa Gen Ed or that we can find in general education questions no sa LAT, these are current knowledge or mga knowledge knowledge that can be found in the modern world that we have right now. So here in Gen Ed Science, there are 4 parts, no? So there are 4 parts of the review. I mean, the review. There are 4 parts for the science review. So first is we have this life science, and then we have earth science, we have chemistry, and we have physics. So I want to hear from the participants. Okay lang ba mag-unmute sandali? I want to ask, which of these branches of science sa tingin mo you are inclined? Or mas bet mo? Hello?
Encouraging our students to please answer and unmute your microphones.
Yes, I just want to know no kung saan kayo I mean, how should I put this? Mas ano ba term?
Mind?
Yes, yung parang mas nagaganahan ba?
Or you may answer via the chat box.
Pwede sa chat box, pwede din directly mag-answer sila. Hello! Nasaan na yung ating 6 participants dyan? Well, anyway, so may nag-answer ba, Ma'am TJ?
Yes po, ma'am. We have Maria Cristel Villagracia, physics and earth science. Cherry Blossom, life science.
Okay. So that's good to know, no? So at least you have this interest, no? When it comes to science knowledge, it is very important that as professionals, at least, di ba? Especially if you are if you will be a teacher, it is very important that at least you have this basic science knowledge from these branches, no, that we have in science. So let's start for the first part. No, let's have life science. So I prepared questions here for life science. So ako siyang gi-categorize or ako siyang by part, no. So every after branch, or for example after life science questions, we have a break. Okay, let's have a break and then proceed na ta sa next nga branch na. So let's start with life science. Okay, so ready na ba kayo? So I
Yes
think
po.
ready na kayo. Okay, so let's have life science. So generally, this is biology, di ba? It's a study of life. So it's a study of life and living things. So lahat ng may buhay. Char, may buhay ka pa ba? All right. So life science, no, deals with cell biology, genetics, molecular biology, botany, microbiology. So lahat, no, lahat na type of science that deals with living things, that is life science. So let's have our first question. All right. So this question, no, hindi ko talaga makakalimutan. I encountered this question during the time that I took the BLEPT. No? So first question that we have here is, which blood type has neither anti-A nor anti-B antibodies and can receive blood from anyone? So I would like you to participate. No, I want to hear your direct answer on this. So okay lang ba, participants, to unmute your mic? And I want to hear what will be your answer in this. Again, which
Letter
blood
A.
type?
Okay,
Letter A. All right. So okay. So may nag-answer ng letter A. So that is AB. Okay, let's see if it is correct, no? All right, it's correct. So grabe, no. Actually, when I gave this question to my students, no, in college, most of them got the wrong answer, no, or they didn't get the correct answer. Most of them
correct me if I'm
answered
wrong.
yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because AB is a rare blood, I think, and the O is a donor, or I think is just like that.
Okay, that's a good question. Yes. All right. So I will entertain that question. No. Actually, I have a short information here. So, okay. So sabi mo sa akin, AB is the rare and O is yung hindi rare, di ba? Actually, it's it's the O, yung rare. Why? So I have here an illustration. Ayan. By the way, before we, para mas maintindihan mo, no, or mas maintindihan nyo why O is the rarest, no, yung pinaka-rare na blood type, it is because of the presence of antigen. So in blood transfusion, it is very critical, di ba? To know or to identify the correct blood type. Kasi if the blood type na ita-transfuse, no, or iturok, no, sa usa ka tawo, dili siya compatible, the tendency is the blood cells or the red blood cells will clump and it would cause death to a person. So before we understand how blood types can be classified, we have to understand these concepts first: antigens and antibodies. So paano nga ba ina-identify yung blood type? So first, we have to look into its antigens. So ano yung sinasabi nating antigens? So antigens, these are surface markers, mga kumbaga indicators or markers sila that could cause the body to make an immune response against any substance na may encounter nila. So it could be found on the surface of a red blood cells. So if you look into the image, so we have here A, B, and O. So Meron tayo ditong representation, no? So for triangle nga yellow ba ni siya, pagka yellow orange, this represents A antigen and blue is for the B antigen. So for the when we look into the representation, so kung makita nato nga rin, no, for AB, ibig sabihin sa surface ng AB red blood cell, there is a presence of antigen A and B, kaya siya tinatawag na AB. So on the on its counterpart, no, when we talk about antibodies, these are protein surrounding the red blood cell. So kung merong AB na antigen, ibig sabihin, ang antibodies na pwede na kumbaga i-pair, no, sa AB nga blood, it has to be anti-B. I mean anti-AB. Okay? So here, para mas maintindihan nato, no, I have here, ayan. Okay, wait lang. May nakalimutan ako. Okay? Antibodies pala, again, these are proteins used by the immune system to identify and neutralize foreign bodies such as antigen, virus, or etc. So, for example, no, again, if you have an A blood type, so it has an A antigen, so the antibody should be anti-B. Okay? And for, kumbaga, magkuan hira, tawag ito opposite. Okay, so kung ang antigen na naa sa red blood cell, okay, is A, ang iyang antigen should be anti-B. Okay? And kung B naman yung blood type, it has B antigen on its surface, the antibody should be anti-A. Okay? And for O naman, since wala ni siya antigen present sa iyang surface, so ang iyang antibodies here is anti-A and B. Okay? Anti-A and B. So pwede siya ihatag, no, sa any blood type. So that is why it is considered, or it is known as the universal donor. However, what makes it rare? What makes it rare is dili siya pwede, no, dili siya kung you are the person who has a blood type, an O blood type, dili ka pwede salinan og bisag unsa nga blood type except O lang. Okay? So mao siya nga rare siya kaayo kay if you have the O blood type, kung naa siya, kasi wala ang imong antibodies nga di A and B, di ba? So kung salinan ka og blood type nga A and B, so dili sila kumbaga magkumbati sila. Okay, so making the blood cells clump. So mao na siya nga it is very dangerous kung masalinan ka o bisag unsa nga blood type kung O ang imong blood type. All right, so nga rin naa po tay giingon nga RH factor, di ba nakadungog mo anang AB positive, A negative, B negative na blood type. So, ngano man ma'am na ay positive na ay negative, nga na. So, it is because of the presence of RH factor. So, tingali mo gawas po ni sa exam, no? What is RH factor? So, RH factor is actually a D protein. So, here, if your blood type has a protein or a rhesus factor, you are RH positive. So ibig sabihin ang imong blood type mahimo siyang positive. So whether it is AB or whether it is AB, or O, if there is a presence of RH factor naa na siya, if there is naa na siya protein na RH, no, so mahimo kang RH positive. Here I have here a table para mas madali natong maintindihan, no? So, if you have blood type A, you have antigen A, okay? And however, your antibody here is anti-B, okay? So, for blood type B, ayan, I hope nakita lang ninyo. So, for compatibility, for blood type A, you are compatible with, of course, blood type A and blood type O. Okay, kaya si O wala man siya antigen, okay, presence on its surface, so safe lang siya i-donate, okay, to any of these blood types. And of course, for B, we have antigen B, antibody. For B is anti-A, and it is compatible with only two blood types, the B and O. And for AB, this is the universal acceptor, no, or the universal recipient. It can receive any blood type. So for AB, wala siya antibodies kasi nga naa naman siya. Okay, duha na ang iya. Naa na siya anti-A and anti-B antigens. So walay antibodies na nakasurround no sa iya. So okay lang, compatible siya to all blood types. And however, for O, since there is no antigen presence on its surface, the antibody would be anti-A and anti-B. So okay lang po siya i-donate to any blood types. However, it cannot, okay, receive any blood types po kasi ang iya lang compatible is only O. Alright? So, neither anti-A nor anti-B, di ba yung question? So, that is AB. Okay? Sige, I hope klaro lang to siya. Okay, so let's proceed. By the way, we have this another pa. Okay, about actually dili na good ni siya kailangan pa, okay, pero ako lang siyang i-highlight for RH factor pala, no. Kasi yung RH factor ginagamit siya to specify, okay, more the blood types kasi dati yung ginagamit lang for the A, B, AB and O. Pero ngayon we have already A positive, A negative para mas makuan pa, kumbaga mas makita pa no kung unsa jud ang compatible na blood type for that particular blood type. So here we will use in identifying or in specifying blood that is compatible. Okay, for example, for A, you have to look into its RH factor. So, for example, di ba, let's say there is a presence of RH protein on the surface of the blood or the red blood cells. So, ibig sabihin it is positive or RH positive, no? So, unsa nga ba ang mga blood types na compatible for those nga na ay presence of RH factor or those blood types na positive. So, of course, if it is positive, so it is compatible for positive and negative. Okay, so whether negative or positive, A or O siya, okay siya for blood type A positive. Okay, so don't worry, ako raman po din siya i-send sa inyo, no? So no need to kuan na lang to memorize. Okay? Pwede lang niyo i-familiarize. Basta tigan nilang niyo kung for example positive siya nga blood type, it could either A, B, AB or O, basta positive siya, compatible siya both positive and negative blood types. Like for example, A, 'di ba? Ang A, ang compatibles lang is A and O. So both positive A, negative A, positive O, and negative O compatible siya sa A positive na blood type, and so on. Okay, and if it has a negative RH factor, no, o kung walay RH or rhesus protein present sa red blood cells, ang compatible lang ani nga blood, okay, for example, blood type A, here, negative lang, okay? So, kung butangan mo siya positive, di siya pwede. Dapat negative lang siya, okay? That is if there is no presence of RH protein. Alright? Sige, so let's proceed to the next question. So, here, now, this is all about nervous system. So, mga basic lang ni siya. Which part of the brain that controls heart, action, breathing, and digestion. So, di ba, if you can still remember, if I'm not mistaken, grade 6 tingali ni siya nga topic. Okay, so di ba, I mean grade 5 tingali or grade 6 basta naa diha. The brain is divided into 3 parts, di ba? The cerebrum, the cerebellum, and the brainstem. Di ba? And if you can still remember, by the way, let's answer this question pa pala muna before we get into the discussion. So, which part of the brain that controls the heart, action, breathing, and digestion? So, what do you think is the answer dito? Are you still there?
Yes, ma'am.
Sige. So what do you think is the answer here? Which part of the brain that controls this body processes like heart action, breathing, and digestion? So is it medulla? Is it cerebellum? Is it the cerebrum or the hypothalamus? All right, so let's reveal na lang the answer, no? Here, the answer... Ay, bakit nawala? Wait. All right, so here the answer is the medulla. So if you could still remember, ayan. Okay, wait. Ano ba, sobrang automatic. All right, so if you could still remember, no, there are 3 parts of the brain generally, okay? Pero kung mag anatomy and physiology na tanga subject, daghan pa na siya nga part. Pero generally, the brain is divided into 3 parts: the cerebrum, the cerebellum, and the brain stem. So kung ato no hinumdumon no, if you could still remember the function of each part, cerebrum, it is mainly responsible for thinking talaga. Okay? It involves remembering, problem solving, thinking, diba? And it also controls the movement. Okay? And when we talk about cerebellum, ang iyang pinaka-keyword jud nganhi is coordination and balance. And when you talk about the brain stem, okay, it is found beneath the cerebrum in front of your cerebellum. It connects the brain to the spinal cord and controls automatic functions. So, yung answer doon is medulla because medulla is part of the brain stem. Okay, so do not forget that. Medulla is part of the brain stem. That is why it is responsible for those, it controls, no? Or it's responsible for automatic functions like heartbeat. So, kung nakita na mong incident nga na ay pangawat sa bangko, 'di ba, sa mga salida like sa cardo. 'Di ba kanang pag may mga mangawat sa bangko, ang gamiton ang tactics sa rubber sa mga rawat, di ba? Ilang kuano na ang liog, ilang anaon, di ba? And then what will happen to the person, di ba? Parang murag mahimatay. It is because the brain stem, no? Kumbaga, it secretes hormones, no, na ma-stress siya. So mauna siya nga kumbaga maapektuhan ang imong breathing. Okay? So mauna siya nga murag mahimatay kadali. Okay? Ang tao. Pero di siya mamatay jud, di ba? Okay? So murag makuan lang, maapektuhan lang gamay ang iyang heartbeat and breathing. So that's it. So again, medulla is part of the brain stem. So it controls automatic functions in the body like heartbeat, digestion, unsa pa pag-ihi nimo, kanang unsa pa tawag kanang pagbalhason ka ana. So mga kumbaga like blinking, mga ana. So mga more on involuntary na mga functions or movement. So the brain stem controls, okay, all of that. All right, so let's proceed to the 3rd question. So here, it's all about skeletal system naman. So which is the connective tissue that is made up of tough fibers that are strong enough to connect bone to another bone. Okay, so sa mga nabasa na ko ng mga let reviewers, yes, mga let materials.
Ma'am, pakita yung presentation.
Ano po?
Excuse me, ma'am. Dili makita yung presentation mo, nagtikig siya.
Ano, sir? Dili makita?
Kana. Okay na, ma'am.
Medyo nag-loading lang tingali ang kaan. Challenge ang internet. Okay na, sir? Okay na, sir?
Okay na po, ma'am. Okay na.
All right, sige. So, this question is one of those recurring questions in LET, specifically sa Gen Ed, no? Bone to bone. Ano nga ba yung connective tissue daw that connects bone to bone? So, what do you think is the answer here? So, let me show the answer. That is ligament. So, familiar ba kayo sa ligament? What is ligament? All right. So, here, ako na lang siya gi-differentiate, no? So, ligaments and tendons, these are connective tissues. So, connective tissues, these are tissues that connects, no? That connects bones or bones to bones and bones to muscle. So, they are classified into, these connective tissues are classified into two. So, it could be a ligaments or it could be a tendon. So, ligaments, hinumduma lang ninyo, B to B. So, bones to bones. From bone to bone, ligament ang tawag, ana. Okay? Na connective tissue ang mag-connect sa ila. However, for tendons, that is bone to muscles. So, from bones to muscles, tendon na siya. So, B to B, ligaments, B to M, bones to muscles, tendons. So, tigam nilang na ninyo. Okay? So, balik-balik kasi ni siya nga question. So, tali mo gawas po sa inyo na time, no? So, at least, nakakuha ka sa correct na answer. So, again, tissues that connects bones to bones, ligaments, bones to muscles, that is tendons. Okay? Next question here. Situation siya. Human are advised not to drink ocean water because it can cause. All right, participants, what do you think is the answer? May participants pa ba tayo dyan?
Dehydration of the cell.
Dehydration of the cell. All right, so that is correct. Okay, dehydration of the cell. Okay, so basically, no, cell is just cell is the basic. Okay, is the basic component of an organism. So though it is basic, no, it requires no specific conditions. Okay, kailangan ng cell ng normal. Okay, condition or environment pod for it to function properly. So, dapat ang atong cell, for example, no, kita tao, kailangan ang atong cell, it is exposed to the normal condition para normal po ang atong pag-function. However, if the cell is exposed, okay, to unbalanced, okay, condition or unbalanced environment, okay, so it could cause problem, no? So here, the amount of fluid daw both inside and outside of the cell is one condition that is very important, and this fluid amount is often determined by the amount of solutes and solvent outside of the cell. So are you familiar with osmosis? So kung nakahinumdum mo sa inyong Gen-Sci nga subject sa college, osmosis is simply the movement or the spontaneous movement of water, okay, from the either way, pwede siyang gikan sa gawas, pasulod sa cell, or gikan sa sulod sa cell or pagawas. So that is spontaneous, ibig sabihin passive lang siya. Okay, dili kailangan siya ng energy, okay, for the molecules to move. So here, in the concept of osmosis, naatay giingon nga tonicity. So when we talk about tonicity, it is defined as the ability of a solution surrounding a cell to cause that cell to gain or lose water. So familiar ba kayo doon sa sa hypertonic, di ba, isotonic and hypotonic solution? Okay, so what will happen if the cell, no, if the cell is exposed to higher, kasi ang cell manggod kinahanglan, if this is the cell, the outer part or the surrounding, no, sa cell dapat equal lang, okay, ang concentration sa sulod. So for example, kung naay 50% solute sa sulod, dapat ang inyang solvent sa gawas is 50 gihapon. So what will happen if balik na ta katong human ko, no, di ba, moinom siya ocean water. So kasabot ta nga ang ocean water is a salt, di ba? Salt water. So ibig sabihin, pag maingon tay salt water, the solute there, okay, has higher concentration compared to the water. So mao nga parat siya, di ba, or salty. So if you are going to drink that, okay? So ibig sabihin, mas daghan ang solute, no? Okay, si cell mas ma-expose siya sa concentration nga mas daghan ang solute. So what will happen to the cell if you will drink the salt water? So of course, it will shrink. Okay, so the movement of water from the inside, from the cell, no, inside of the cell, going out, no, mugawas ang kumbaga ang pinakas ang mga solvent nga naa sa sulod sa cell, mugawas siya kumbaga i-absorb siya sa sulyot, no, kasi ang sulyot ang mas na ay higher concentration. So ang mahitaguan na sa cell is it will shrink. So mura siya, imagine na ninyo kanang raisin, di ba raisin mura siya nangunot ug mura siya ning sa tawag ana kanang basta mura siya nangunot, di ba? O murag ning kupos ang term. Okay, so
Dehydrated.
exactly. And then so mao na siya. If the cell is exposed to a hypertonic solution, the cell will shrink or it will be dehydrated. How on the other hand, if the cell naman is exposed to a hypotonic solution, meaning there is a higher solvent, no, nga concentration compared to the solute, the cell will eventually swell and it will burst. Okay, so kana lang siya ang tigam ni. So for our cell to function properly, it has to be surrounded in it has to be in as isotonic environment. Okay, dapat normal lang 50-50, kumbaga 50 lang ang concentration ng solute and then yung concentration ng solvent is also 50. Okay, so that's it. Let's proceed to the ayan. So that is the representation, no, of how cell, no, or how or what will be the image of the cell if it is exposed to a hypertonic, isotonic and hypotonic solution. So kana, di ba mura na siya raisin na dehydrate. All right, sige. So now let's proceed to the next question. So here, the fight or flight response includes greater heart output and rise in a blood pressure. So this response is due to is it insulin secreted by the pancreas, it is thyroxine secreted by the thyroid gland, oxytocin secreted by the pituitary gland, or the adrenaline secreted by the adrenal glands. So kani siya murag familiar naman, no, di ba? If we were exposed in stress, like stress tano, like naay for example, if mahadlok kag cockroach, no, like makalitan kag naay mulupad nga cockroach, no, our nervous system has this what we call fight or flight response. Is it magstay ka din ha or dagan ka, di ba? So is it mo fight ka or mo mulupad na lang or dalagan na lang, di ba? So naanay duha nga mechanism ang atong body. Pwede ba mo fight bata or mo flight. So that is what we call fight or flight response. So in fight or flight response, no, what will happen to our body? Generally, ang imong mapansin ana is kulbaan kapag maayo, di ba? Like you're running out of breath. And then, of course, ang imong blood pressure, mataas na siya. So, what could be the reason of this? So, of course, our brain kasi, it secretes hormones during fight or flight response. So these hormones kumbaga triggers those glands, no, nga makag-secrete po another hormones that cause our blood to rise or our heartbeat to becomes faster, like mura ka gukod. Diba? So generally during fight or flight response, our brain secretes hormones that triggers adrenal glands. So these adrenal glands secretes adrenaline. So kung familiar mo sa giingon nga adrenaline rush, di ba? So if you are exposed to a particular stress environment, okay, your adrenal glands is triggered to secrete adrenaline that causes your heartbeat, no, your heartbeat to kumbaga mura ka gigukod, magkusog, magpaspas ang imong heartbeat, and your blood pressure will also rise, and also it triggers sweating, diba? So pamalhason kag maayo. So that's it. So tigani lang ninyo nga during fight and flight response, it is the adrenaline hormone that causes those reaction. Okay, nakulbaan ka, musinggit ka, diba nga na. Alright? Sige. So let's proceed now to the next question. Ayan. Individuals with HIV sometimes contract a pneumonia infection. Oo. Di ba maingon nga, uy, unsay gikamatian niya? Ikaingon ba nako na siya AIDS? Wala, ang gikuan man sa iya, ang gi-diagnose is nako na siya pneumonia infection. Nakabati, nakadungog na mo ana. Bakit kaya? Char. Ayan, so again, individuals with HIV sometimes contract a pneumonia infection that is rare in the rest of the population because people with HIV is ano? Ayan, can you read the choices na lang? So what do you think is the answer here? So of course, no? Okay, sige, let's reveal na lang the question and then let's have the explanation. Ayan, so ayan, unable to fight off these pneumonia-causing organisms. So we are aware that HIV, diba? HIV, that is the virus, and AIDS na is already the condition kasi sometimes they are used interchangeably, pero karon no, akong i-share sa inyo what is the difference. So HIV, it is the cause no, of AIDS. So di ka mo ingon nga uy naa siya HIV na condition. If we are talking about condition na, that is already AIDS. So organisms have a variety of mechanisms talaga to combat disease. However, for individual with compromised immune system, like if you have AIDS na compromised during immune system, kasi nga there is this, ayan, naigiingon nga viral protein which is created by HIV virus no during infection that interferes the immune response. So tanan nga effort nga buhaton sa imong immune system to fight off even those small infections, dili na siya mahitabo. It is because it is being interfered this viral protein secreted by HIV virus, or yes, created by HIV during infection. So even even for example naa kay pneumonia, okay, naa kay pneumonia, dili na siya makaya no sa imong immune system na kumbaga ipaglaban. Kasi nga your immune system is already compromised with the AIDS or with the condition nga naa nga particular nga tawo nga na HIV virus. Okay? So that's right. Okay, so actually this question assess your knowledge about the function of your immune system. So kuan man gud kanang ang HIV man gud nga virus no, kuan gud na siya kanang welcome na siya kaayo sa atong body. So if you were infected, no, if you're infected by an HIV virus, so i-welcome jud na siya pag maayo sa cell. It has a special gate no sa atong cell. So once it enters the cell, ang iya dayon ang atakehon is ang atong immune system. So wala, kumbaga there is no cure pa, pero pwedeng ma-lessen lang ang mga symptoms, pero dili good siya ma-cure. Okay? Wala pa cure as of now, as of today. Alright? Sige, so next question. Okay, ito. Common po niya siya nga question, one of the recurring questions in gen ed science. So, which stage in the life cycle of a butterfly is considered most destructive by farmers and why? So, if we could still remember the life cycle of a butterfly, grade 4. Grade 4 tingalin nga topic na, if I'm not mistaken. Kitudlo ni siya sa grade 4 life cycle. So, what is the life cycle of the butterfly? Of course, it starts with an egg, di ba? And after an egg, unsay sunod? Kinsay nakahinumdum pa? Kasi sometimes nauuna yung pupa di ba? But it's not, okay? So, ang sunod ana is the larva. Okay, yung caterpillar na nakikita natin, and we have the pupa and we have the adult. So here the question, what is which stage in the life cycle of the butterfly is considered the most destructive? So of course, unsay pinaka-destructive for those who are plantita and plantito, di ba? Pag uludo na gani ang atong mga tanom, di ba, murag mapeste jud ta, di ba? Naanapod ning mga pests. Okay, so what is the which stage no nga yung butterfly is naa pa siya sa iyang in a larval stage pa. So caterpillar siya, di ba? In a form of caterpillar. So caterpillar actually mauna siya ang mga mangaon sa atong, di ba? Especially sa dahon. So it is considered as destructive. Yes. Destructive by farmers or those who have plants no at home. So larva during the larval stage no ang caterpillar ana as maniguro jud na siya kaon. So kailangan na niya, okay, para in preparation to the next stage which is the pupa no. Ayan. So kailang kalimte pag larva yung butterfly diha is in a caterpillar form siya. Okay? Ayan. So kung makita ninyo maano siya. So this one is in the larval stage. Okay, so this is the stage where the caterpillar eats most the leaves or even the flowers of the plant. Okay? Ayan. Alright, so okay pa ba kayo dyan? Paspas ra ba ko? Gusto na ko daghan ma-cover. Okay, sige. So let's have these next questions. So familiar mo ani? Daghay malipat ani. Which of the following is a possible food chain? Possible food chain. So what is food chain again? So let us reveal first the answer. Ayan. Corn, rat, cat. Okay, sige. So again, what is food chain? If you could still remember elementary. Actually sa Gen Ed no napansin nako sa Gen Ed questions no from sa Gen Ed ang mga topic doon are more on elementary lang. More elementary or knowledge no nga ma-acquire natin during elementary years. So here I think food chain gi-introduce ni siya grade 5 no. So here food chain kind of describes how energy and nutrients move through an ecosystem. So in a food chain ayan meron giingon nga source of the energy which is the sun, and we have the primary producer or the producer. Okay, producer, and then we have the primary consumer, secondary consumer, we have tertiary, and we have the decomposer. So mao ni siya ang giingon nga food chain. So it is composed of an autotroph or the organism that can produce its own food, and then those heterotrophs katong mga mukaon, okay, sa gi-produce sa producer. So here if we look into the diagram, we have the sun which is the source of energy, and we have the plant. Okay, so this is the primary producer. So bayan lang nato ang arrow. So we have the grasshopper considered as the primary consumer. So ganiha sa question, possible food chain. So wala man tingali cat nga mukaon og wala man tingali rat nga mukaon og cat, di ba? So di ba? So ang message ng mukaon sa rat, di ba? So here if we talk about food chain, it must start with a producer. So choice A, so nag-start siya sa cat. So cat is not the producer here, but it's the corn, di ba? So nga rin naman po sa letter D, wala may rat lagi nga mukaon og cat, di ba? So kasagaran jud ang cat na ang mukaan sa rat. All right? So we have the corn, the rat, and the cat. So this is already considered as food chain. Okay, so ay lang kalimte, it starts with a producer, and then the primary consumer, secondary, and of course naapod siya giingon nga decomposer. Okay, so here in the diagram, so first, ang primary consumer is the grasshopper. So siya acquire siya energy from the plant, from the primary producer, and then after that, gikaon no sa rat. Okay, so this is already considered as the secondary consumer, third, and then the apex predator, pwede pa yan siya i-include. Pero sa basic lang nga food chain, sometimes tama ra siya tertiary consumer, and then it will be decomposed by the decomposer. So here ang decomposer nato, we have here mushroom. Okay, mushroom is a fungi. So fungi and bacteria are decomposers. So sila pud ang magbalik sa nutrients nga naa sa snake, for example. For example, taman lang sa snake. Okay? So once the snake died, so here the decomposer will decompose the snake, and then the energy will eventually return, okay, back to the primary producer, and the cycle will continue. So that is the food chain. So kung daghan na pud nga food chain, no, that's already food web, di ba? Hinungdan mo, food web. Okay, so food web is already the interrelated, okay, food chain. So mas bigger na siya nga population ang nakag-form of food chain. All right, so now here, ito. Related po sa sa previous question. In an energy pyramid, which group of organisms receive the least amount of energy? So again, going back to this diagram, it starts with the source of energy. So from the sun, ang 100% jud nga makakuha, no, or maka-acquire sa energy is the producer. Okay, and once it is eaten by the primary consumer, maibanan siya 10%. And so on, pakato na sa next na consumer. So, no, ang question, receive the least amount. So, ayan, magtikalayo no sa producer. For example, here, snake, it receives the least amount na kasi in every level na kumbaga na nagkakaroon ng deduction of energy, like moabot siya 10%. So mauna nga if you want to be healthy, if you want to acquire no most of the energy, no, so mas maayo kung mas mukaon tag veggies, di ba, or those plants, okay, that can make its own food kasi sila ang mga mas maka-acquire jud sa energy coming from the sun. All right, so that is the third order consumer or the tertiary consumer. All right. Okay. Ito, one of the recurrent questions again. Which of the following environmental conditions has been blamed for the usual occurrence of fish kill? So, nakadungog na bumuani or naka-experience na bumuani? Yes, that is eutrophication. So what is eutrophication? So eutrophication is actually the abundance of nutrients, no, on the body of water. So it is sometimes called hypertrophication. So tingali silet, say trader ba silet, no, gamit siya ibang term. So eutrophication is also known as hypertrophication. Okay, so it happens when there is kumbaga an excessive nutrients found in the bodies of water. So here, this is an example of eutrophication. So if there is eutrophication, of course, dili na maka-absorb, no? Dili na maka-absorb ang oxygen from the open space pakadto sa mga sa body. Okay, sa body mismo sa water. For example, kani siya, is this a lake or a river ba? Kanisha, here, ang nahitabo, no, mura na siya grass lang, di ba? So there is already an excessive growth of plants and algae. So if there is eutrophication, there is a higher, okay, or there is a higher amount of nutrients, no. So sometimes these nutrients come from those, for example, kanang mga pabrika gani nga mag-release og mga liquid waste. Sometimes those liquid waste has nitrogen and phosphorus. So kaning nitrogen and phosphorus, they could kumbaga run no off to that particular body of water. So it could cause eutrophication or excessive amount of nutrients, so resulting to excessive growth naman of plants and algae. So covering the space, no, kung asa pod mo penetrate ang oxygen. So that's why kung walay oxygen, di ba? Di ba? So most likely mga matay jud ang mga living no organisms under water. So there is already oxygen depletion of the water body. So that is eutrophication. All right? So mangutana mo what is red tide? Is it related to eutrophication. So later I have a question prepared gihapon. So maatong ma-relate kung unsay relationship ni eutrophication sa red tide. All right? Sige, so let's have this next question. So what kind of biome is prevalent in the equatorial zone of the Earth? Oh, so kani siya common no question. So those places or countries lie on the equatorial zone of the Earth. Most likely those countries or places receives the direct direct kumbaga direct sunlight. Okay, so kato siya nga mga places nga na ay maka-receive og direct sunlight. Most of these countries has tropical climate. So here pag moingon tag biome, so I have here a chart no. Pag mayroong tag-biome, these are regions in the planet where plant, animals, insects, and people live in a particular type of environment. So if you look into the diagram, from here, no, hot and wet, so tigam nilang ninyo from equator, so this represents the equatorial zone. Okay, so as it moves higher, no, pakadto na siya sa North Pole. Okay, and here pakatupod siya sa same gihapon, it could be north or south, basta pakuan siya pa vert ang iyang if this is the line no, vertical line, so from equator going to the either north or south pole, these are the representation of biomes nga pwede no nga naa sa kanang particular nga place. So here from an equator, so we have hot and wet no nga type of environment. That is why we have this tropical rainforest. So most likely those places nga nasa equator, we have dry and wet season, diba? So that is kumbaga kuan siya kanang favorable for plants and animals. Okay, so tanan nga rainforest nakita jud na nimo sa equatorial zone, tropical rainforest. And then moving for example to the north pole, mas kuan na siya, mo decrease ang iyang temperature. So doon makikita natin yung tundra, di ba, yung mga snowy na nga mga places like ang mas taas ang ilang nights kaysa sa day. And then malamig doon. And then we have the dry, no, the desert, we have the savanna, no, Africa, mga Africa na kuan siya nga sa Africa, and somewhere in Asia gihapon nga part na ay dry region, no, makita nato na ay mga desert. Okay, so these are the biomes no found here in our planet Earth. So sa question nga mo usahay mo gawas sa let manggod, usually ang ilan lang ipangutana is like for example in the Philippines unsa nga biome nga naata. So tingam nila nga since we are in the equatorial no zone of the planet, so we have this hot and wet no nga type of environment, so that is tropical. Okay, tropical environment. So thus we have these regions called tropical rainforest. Okay, so ayan, tropical rainforest is a hot moist biome found near on the equatorial Earth equators. Okay, sige, so let's have let's have the next question. Okay, sige. So what interspecific relation may exist between frogs and fishes in a pond ecosystem? So in an ecosystem, there is what we call symbiotic relationship. Okay, so unsay giingon nga symbiotic relationship? So let's reveal first the answer here, that is competition. So bakit nga ba competition ang mayroon kay frog and fish no sa pond na ecosystem? So here we have symbiotic relationships in an ecosystem. So they are categorized into 4. So we have let's familiarize na lang this one no. So we have mutualism, from the root word itself, mutual. So both species benefit from interaction. So for example, ana Mutualism. Can you give me an example? Napabatay participants? Sige, mangutan ako. Can you give me an example of mutualism or mutual relationship of two organisms, no, in a particular ecosystem? Hello?
Participants?
Are you still there?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So we have here 4 types of interaction, diba? So I'm asking first about mutualism. So mutualism daw, the both species benefit from interaction. So duha sila maka-benefit to each other. So can you give me an example of this type of interaction in a particular environment or in a particular ecosystem?
Ma'am,
Nakalimot
kuan, bees and flowers.
bees and flower. Yes, that's a good example of mutualism, no? A bee and a flower. Okay, so both sila maka benefit sa isa't isa, di ba? And it could not harm any sa ila pod. And how about commensalism? So one species benefits, one is unaffected. So yung isa lang yung nagbe-benefit and then the other one hindi siya nakaka-benefit sa katong nag-benefit sa iya pero okay lang. Okay, it is unaffected. So that is commensalism. So an example of this is for example an orchid, okay, an orchid attached to another type of plant, like for example kanang mga makita nato di ba kanang mga orchid usually ikuan na siya i-attach no sa usa ka puno, for example. So siya makuha siya nutrient no from that tree. However, si tree hindi naman siya although di siya makakuha og any benefit from the orchid, pero di siya ma-harm. Okay lang siya. Okay? So dili siya wala yung mahitabo sa iya, di ba? So that is commensalism. One species benefits and one is unaffected. And competition, so si frog o si fish, no, considered as they have this competition sa pond na ecosystem because of the nutrients no na present sa naa sa pond. So pwede sila mag-agaw, di ba, sa source of nutrient or the source of food. So here competition, each species affected negatively. Okay, so kung for example kini sila nga duha nga mga predators no like frog and fish sa pond nga ecosystem, na-adjud na source of nutrients or source of food. So naanay common source of energy and or food. So diha if they share common source no, more likely magko-compete talaga sila. So if ang usa lang ang sigig benefit no unya kani siya, for example maubusan, di ba? So what will happen to the other organisms? So it really kumbaga affects no negatively to each other. Okay? And also we have predation. So predation, parasitism, okay, and herbivory. So here one species benefits, one is disadvantaged. So common parasitism, so we already know that. So if there is a parasite and there is a host, so luoy si host, di ba? So kasabot na taan nga concept. Okay, so just remember mutualism, just remember these signs. Okay, so pwede lang ninyo siya i-familiarize or i-memorize nga mga signs para mahinumduman nimo ang the different symbiotic or interaction in an ecosystem. All right. Okay. So let's proceed. So here, let's proceed to the next question. So here, the question: which of the following factors contribute to an increase in a town's human population? So here we are talking population or increase of population. So there are actually factors affecting population. So let's reveal first the answer. That is immigration, and natality. So what are these factors? Actually, these factors are there are 4 factors of population increase. So these are first the fertility or natality rate. So it is measured by the number of children per one woman. So nakasabot na taan na fertility, di ba? So it is one of the main reason bakit nag-i-increase din yung population. Okay? And of course, we have the mortality rate, ayan, or the death rate. It could also affect the number of population. We have the immigration, migration. So we have what is the difference of these two? So kanisha, it means an animal establishes a home in a habitat because it has a resource and it can utilize, or because the habitat is ideal for them. So for example, taga Australia ka, and then sa Philippines na ay good source, no? For example, source of food nga dili siya available, no? For example, sa Australia, then for you as an organism to survive, you do this immigration. Okay? So, mahitabo, mo transfer ka. Okay? So, that's an example of a situation na pwede maka-affect sa population sa usa ka community. And we have this, the last factor, kani siya opposite naman pud ni siya sa kani siya sa immigration. So kung kani siya musulod siya sa particular no nga community, kani naman siya mugawas. Like for example, dili na favorable ang environment, di ba? Dili na healthy. So you will look for a greener pasture. Ganon. Okay? So all of these factors affect the population growth. Okay? So nganhin ang question, di ba, increase. So which do you think the factors no affecting the increase of population? So that is, of course, that is fertility, and ayan, ito. Okay, so that is why here the answer is letter A. Okay, ayan. Alright, so ito naman, one of the recurring questions. Which of the property of a particular species living in a particular setting together with the role it plays in relation with other species? So that's letter B. So what is a niche? So do you know your niche? Hanggang ngayon, or ngayon ba, do you know your niche, your ecological niche? Ayan. So what is a niche? So ecological niche is actually the role that you play or the position that you play in your in a particular environment. So here it is defined as the role and position of a species has in its environment, how it meets and it needs for food and shelter, how it survives. So basically, niche is just your ecological role, okay, in a particular environment. All right. So for example, lion. So ang lion no, in a particular environment, for example, savanna. So lang lion, tiger, ang ilang ecological niche, predator jud sila. Okay? So mao jud ang ilang pinaka main ecological niche. They are classified as predators. So naapod mga prey. Okay? So napod sa usa ka ecosystem, naay predator, naay prey. So depende na siya sa ecological niche sa kanang particular organism. So just remember, talking about the role in the environment or an ecosystem, that is ecological niche or sometimes called niche. All right. Sige, so let's proceed to the next question. So ito, very common question. So kasabot na ta, what are autotrophs and heterotrophs? So autotrophs, these are organisms that can make their own food. Heterotrophs, these are katong mga consumer, no? Yes? Okay, so heterotrophs, these are the consumers. So heterotrophs are classified into herbivores, carnivores, omnivores, di ba? So we have also detritivores. So ang question, choose from among these heterotrophs organisms that feed on partially decomposed tissues of plants and animals. So if we analyze now, if we rationalize the choices that we have here, herbivores, okay, so unsay kaunon sa mga herbivores, of course those are the ang plants, di ba? More on plants sila. And then autotrophs, dili ni siya mabilong, no? Kasi autotrophs nga again is not an heterotrophs, kasi nga the autotrophs are those organisms that can make their own food. So dili nila kailangan consume, di ba? And we have this detritivores. So kung i-rationalize nato ang choices, Herbivores, dili siya. It can't be, di ba? Of course, autotrophs, it can't be also. And carnivores more on meat, no? Meat eater sila. So, kani, if you are not familiar with detritivores, possibly the answer there is detritivores. And here, let me share to you what is really detritivores. So, detritivores, actually, they are they are classified as one of the decomposers kasi daghay klase sa decomposers, and detritivores is one of those decomposers that feed by decaying, diba, tissues of plants and animals. So detritivores, they are also called, ayan, marami silang terms. So pwede nyo i-familiarize ka na siya kay tingali detritivores ang mugawas sa let, diba? Tingali detritus. Detritus feeders. Okay? So pero sa mga let reviewers nga akong nakita, no, usually ang mugawas na term is detritivores. Okay? So they are fed, ayan, they obtain nutrients by consuming detritus, decomposing plants and animal parts as well as feces. So katong mga solid waste, no, nga expel sa body. And we have this, ayan. Ay, sorry. Ayan, so again, the important role of these detritivores, they decompose, no, the decaying tissue or the decaying cell of a once living organism, and once they decompose the tissue, the nutrients, no, will return back to the producer. So this has something to do with the food chain again. So nakahinungdum mo ganiha sa cycle na sa food chain. So that is the role of decomposers, so specifically the detritivores. Okay, ayan. So let's proceed now to the next question. So kanina po siya, magbalik-balik po din nga question, no? So okay lang yan kung wala kang idea about scurvy, tigamni na lang siya nga pag moingong scurvy, that is a deficiency, no? It is caused by lack of vitamin C. Okay, so scurvy, vitamin C. So mag-rhyme man sila pod, no? So tingali madali lang nimo siya mahinumduman. So I have here another deficiency disorder. Yan list, no? So tingali dili scurvy pod ang mugawas, sometimes biri-biri. Naalang na sa ilang duha. Okay, so tigam nilang pag scurvy, it's a deficiency caused by lack of vitamin C. Biri-biri is vitamin B1. So loss of vision, familiar naman ta, vitamin A. We have rickets, o sahay pod mugawas ni rickets, lack of vitamin D. So bone and tooth decay, you know that already, lack of calcium. We have goiter for iodine and anemia for iron. Okay, so tigam nilang ni siya ang mga nutrient deficiency. Okay, scurvy, vitamin C, biri-biri, vitamin B1. Okay, now here, let's have a little genetics here. We have, in genetics, phenotype. Kani, balik-balik po ni si phenotype. Okay, so if you are not a science major, probably you are not that familiar with this term, phenotype. So in genetics kasi, we use term phenotype and genotype in classifying traits. Okay, so here the question, in genetics, phenotype refers to the blank of an individual. So is it the genetic makeup, the actual physical appearance, the recessive allele, or the heterogeneous trait? So let's reveal first the answer. That is the actual physical appearance. So here, let us differentiate these terms. Kasi sa genetics kasi, more likely sa genetic questions, mauni siya mugawas, either genotype or phenotype, pero most likely phenotype talaga. So, let's define or let's differentiate. When you talk about genotype, that refers to the genetic makeup talaga of an organism. So, ang pinaka, kumbaga, in a molecular level siya. Ang phenotype naman good is already the observable characteristic. So, for example, your genotype is, like for example, kani siya nga trait, so represented by big letter T and small letter t, kasi nga, for example, gikan ni sa imong father, kani gikan sa imong mother, so this is a heterogeneous trait, no, for example, or allele. So, ang pinaka-phenotype ani is the tall. Okay, so tigam nilang pag genotype, that is the genetic makeup. Okay, so what composes the trait? Okay, in a molecular level. So genetic makeup, that's the genotype, and ang iyang pinaka-result na sa kanang genetic makeup, that is what we call na the phenotype. Okay, or the observable characteristics. Okay, so for example, again, another example is the color of the hair. So, for example, the genetic makeup is the dominant alleles are black, for example. So, ang iyang observable trait, of course, black jud ang colors sa imong hair and not red. Okay, saan na siya? So, tigam nilang again, genotype, genetic makeup, phenotype, the observable characteristics. Alright. Okay, kanipod siya. So, halos silang mga questions kani siya, mga recurring questions ni siya sa Gen Ed Science. So here, which protist caused malaria? So again, in classifying, no, classifying the organisms, we have five. We have five kingdom. The kingdom, di ba, the bacteria, classified as Eubacteria, Archaebacteria, and we have the protist, and we have fungi, and we have the plant and the animals. Here, pangutana, which protist? So, ang malaria pala, it is not caused by a virus or unsa pa bacteria or fungi, but it is caused by a protist. So, unsa nga protist daw ang nakakause sa malaria? So, actually, that's a plasmodium. It's a type of algae that is very toxic. Okay, so here, let me define protist. It is a eukaryotic organism, but microscopic. So most of the eukaryotic organisms are not microscopic, no, like animals, makita man gud siya sa imong naked eye. But this type of eukaryotic organism, una siya multicellular cell, no, so kani siya microscopic na siya. So dali lang ma-identify ang usa ka protist. So there are types actually. It could be an algae, it could be a protozoa, or it could be a slime mold. So plasmodium belongs to a type of algae. So this plasmodium is responsible for the malaria infection. So kani siya actually makuha ni siya sa lamok, di ba? So kung ang lamok, no, makakuha ni siya maka-absorb, no, this type of protist from an algae or plasmodium. So that's the time if mo kadto na siya sa, for example, sa usa ka tawo, no, mukagat na, so ma-transfer. Okay, ma-transfer ang kanang plasmodium protist. So kana siya, that will cause the malaria infection. Okay? So tigam nilang malaria plasmodium na siya. Okay? Sige. So let's have the next question. Ito. The woman is 26 years old. So according to human structure, how many bones she has? So 26 years old or a 26-year-old woman is already considered as an adult, right? However, if we are going to count the number of bones, kung i-compare nato, no, ang infant or a newly born human compared to the human adult, maglahi, no, ang number of bones. So here, what do you think is the answer? Okay, so let me reveal the answer. That is 206. So pero kung pangutana, no, a newly infant baby, di ba? So, or newly infant, tawagan ni kaning number of bones ang ipangutana. So unsa kaha? So more likely it is composed of 300 bones, specifically 307 bones. Infant na siya, okay? So or newly born, okay, baby. However, as we grow older, no, ang bones pud siya mo kuan man gud siya mo fuse, di ba? So if you're already an adult, so normally you have 206 bones. So tigam nilang kung dili mo gawas ang 300 for infant, probably 307 kasi ang 307 is the exact number talaga, pero muingon lang composed around 300 bones. Okay, so if ever kung infant ang ipangutana, nara siya around 300. Okay, and for adult, it has 206 bones. Okay, ay ito din. Okay, recurring question, what is the flap like structure that prevents the food from sorry, typo, from going to the wrong way during swallowing. Okay, so kinsa na biktima ani? Nasamid ka na ba? Okay, so here,
A, ma'am.
what do you think is the answer?
Letter A, ma'am. A.
That is letter. Yes. Okay. So I have a picture actually of epiglottis, but it's a kind of gross, no? So marag, imagine na lang ninyo, it's a flap-like structure nga naa, no? At the back, actually, I have here. So it's a leaf shape or it's a flap. Okay? Cartilage located behind the tongue. Naa lang siya sa likod sa imong tongue, no? Naka-cover sa pinaka opening, okay? Opening sa imong larynx or your voice box. So it prevents, no? It prevents the food, okay? Nga usahay no while we are talking, especially if we are talking, that is why di ba moingon jud ang mga ang mga kalagsan or mga parents nato, di ba nga, don't talk when your mouth is full kasi nga ayon magsasuffer yung ating epiglottis and our nganhina ang atong pinaka opening no sa atong respiratory system. So the function of the epiglottis is to seal off the windpipe during eating so that food is not accidentally inhaled. Okay, para di ka matok-an diha. All right. So tigam nilang na flap-like structure, leaf-shaped flap structure nga maka-prevent no sa food no in going to the our respiratory tract, that is the epiglottis. All right. Ito, this is a trivial question. Okay, clavicle is commonly known as, okay, that is considered daw as the sexiest bone in the body. What do you think is that? That's the collarbone. Okay, so clavicle. So one of the recurring questions, what is clavicle? So that is our collarbone. Okay, so tigam nilang na ninyo, clavicle is the collarbone. How about the bone in our knee or the kneecap, that is patella. Okay, or patelia, sometimes called as patelia. And we have, actually, daghan pa, mag-share lang ko og notes, no, our anatomy and physiology notes about the different bones in the body. So pwede na ninyo i-familiarize kasi sometimes dili si clavicle ang mugawa, sometimes si patella, okay, or the kneecap bone. All right? Sige, so let's have the next. Ay, eto. Familiar ba kayo dito? Base pairing of DNA. Diba? Niingon nga, si adenine, i-pair siya sa kani, si cytosine, i-pair siya sa kani. Diba? So, nakafamiliar mo dati sa inyong lesson, no? Sa molecular biology or even in cell biology, familiar mo aning mga term. So, here the question is thymine. So, ang question, unsa kuno i-pair sa adenine, so that is thymine. So, our genes, pwede siya DNA, pwede siya RNA, but it is more on DNA. So here, there are 4 nucleotides or bases in DNA. So we have, ikuan lang ninyo i-familiarize or pwede ninyo mogamit lang og mnemonic, so ACGT. So we have adenine, cytosine, guanine, and thymine. So in base pairing, adenine is paired with thymine, guanine is paired with cytosine. So if we have here, ayan, a base, we have here a base, ba? For example, kani siya nga naglinya nga ring mga nucleotides. What do you think is the kumbaga base pair ani? So tignan na nato nga si A partner siya sa T, si C i-partner siya sa G. So usually sa tagaan lang mo ani nga base, no? So usahay ipasuwat, no, or ipangayoon sa inyo ang pair ani. All right, so tigan nilang A with T, G, and C. So this is the base pair of this DNA. However, in RNA, okay, tigam ninyo, maglahi na pag-abot sa RNA. Kung i-identify dito sa, kung i-specify dito sa question, RNA siya and not DNA, adenine na is paired with uracil. So for example, this is the given base. So A na is paired with U. So baliwan lang ninyo ang T here sa DNA, sa DNA, baliwan na, okay? You replace it with the uracil or the U. Okay, so ano na siya. Okay, Sige, I hope maka-familiarize na mo. Alright, let's proceed to the next question. Okay, what is the greatest danger to a patient who has had a damage to the skin? So the question here is about the first line of defense that we have in our body, which is the skin. Diba? So, unsa ko ni mahitabo if you have a damaged skin. So, what is your answer here? Ayan, infections in uncovered tissues. Okay. So here, if you have damaged skin daw, infections can easily occur. Why? Kasi nga, if you have a damaged skin, the tissues, no, underlying, no, sa imong, for example, sa particular nga muscle, no, kung wala na siya skin nga naka-cover, dali ra siya magkaada og infection. Because nga, skin is our first line or first layer of defense against infection. So, that is our one of the mechanisms as an organism to combat disease. So it is very important that you stay hydrated because that is one of the ways, no, to keep your skin healthy. Di ba? Mayroon kang sige ko break out. It is because siguro usa sa mga factors you are dehydrated, and also if it is dry, no, you have to moisturize it. So it is very important that you take good care of your skin. Okay, dili kay arte ka, but you take good care also of your immune system. Kasi nga, it is one of the mechanisms to combat disease. Skin is part actually of your immune system. So it's a barrier that serves as one body's first line of defense against harmful microbes as well. Okay, so kailangan healthy jud ang imong skin, no? Para dili ka dali po dayon masakit. Alright? Sige. Here, ito, parang question lang to kanina. In biology, what is the term that describes the appearance of an organism? So, that is phenotype. Okay? So, nga na lang ang structure, no, sa pangutana when it comes to genetics, phenotype, genotype. So, basta tigami lang ninyo observable appearance, observable trait, tanan nga mo describe, no, sa appearance sa usa ka organism, that is phenotype. Okay? And the genetic material, that is the genotype. Okay, na-explain na nako gani ha. Ito. Kani siya, no need to familiarize or to define talaga what is domain, kingdom, kasi nga hindi naman lahat kayo, di ba, science major or ang field is science. However, kini man gud nga question, one of the recurring questions nga usahay malipat ta, di ba, unsa ba gud una ato, kingdom ba to domain? Okay? So, this is about taxonomy. So, how we classify organisms. So, here we classify through this taxonomic rank. So the answer here is, ayan, it starts with the domain, okay, and then kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. So don't worry, pwede lang siya nimo gamitan og mnemonics, okay? So no need to memorize talaga. All right? So here we have here, dear King Philip came over for good soup. So pwede lang na siya kana lang imong i-memorize. And then kung pangutana ka to siyang taxonomic rank, for example from decreasing order or from increasing order, kamao ka. Okay? So dear King Philip came over for a good soup. So it starts with domain, and then for example here the taxonomy of a dog. So domain is eukarya because it is a multicellular organism, meaning it has different types of cell. Okay? Dili siya bacteria kasi ang bacteria single cell lang siya. So we have domain eukarya, we have kingdom. Unsa siya nga kingdom? Plant ba siya? Protist ba siya? Fungi ba siya? But since it is a dog, so it is an animal. So it belongs to kingdom Animalia. It has a phylum Chordata kasi nga it has a backbone, and then mammalia siya. Okay, it has a mammary gland. So it is the class here is the mammalia. So imo lang ni siya i-familiarize pod. Okay, so dear King Philip coming over for a good soup. So we have domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, and we have genus and species. So kind of memorize lang siya. Okay, so or i-familiarize lang siya. Maghimo lang kag mnemonics. All right.
Okay, ma'am. Is it okay if we have a 5-minute break muna?
Yes, ma'am. Sure. Oo.
Para maka-rest ka po, ma'am.
Oo. Sige.
Okay, so participants, we will have first a 5-minute break. So you may pee or do whatever you want or snacks. And then come back later after 5 minutes. Okay? You may, pwede ra dili mo leave sa meeting. Just stay here lang. Mute your microphones and turn off your cameras lang for the break. And I'll see you later at 10:07. The time here is 10:02 on my clock. So 10:07, we'll see you all here again. Okay? 5-minute break muna tayo.
in a regression analysis, we use PPR system in answering the questions in your quiz. So we are looking at effect of one or two is one variable on another. Okay, so how does this one variable increase and decrease if the other variable is decreased or decreased by some amount, some value? So for example, if we in economics, it is proven that expenditure is related to income, weighted income. Okay, so if increase income by this much, what would be the corresponding increase in income and expenditure? Okay, so yun yung type of questions that we want to answer in regression analysis. Okay, now in addition, in regression analysis, we are assuming that the, there are two types of variables involved. There are two types of variables involved. Independent variables and different variables. Yeah, independent variable, for example, and
Ma'am, mabalihod na lang ko sa inyo diri. Wala man ako nagtud. Assist na lang diri sa review, ma'am. Biliran ka, ma'am.
Okay, so I think that's it for our 5-minute break. Ma'am Annaliza, Amable, are you ready? Participants?
Yes, ma'am. Shall we resume na po?
Yes. Yes po, ma'am.
Okay. Sige. Shall I take over the screen na, ma'am?
Yes po, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
So reminding the participants, please encourage your friends, colleagues to join us here for the free Webview. So, para makapasar.
Yes. Sige, ma'am. Mag-share na ko, ma'am.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Take over the screen na lang po.
Okay. May nag-reflect na, Ma'am Tej?
Yes po, ma'am.
Okay, so by the way, participants, this would be the last concept that we have here in life science. So after this, we will proceed now to the next branch, which is the earth science. I consider this one of the important concepts that you need to learn in taking Gen Ed science. So here, it is very important that you are familiar with scientific method. Kasi questions in Gen Ed science sometimes naay ing ani. Okay, so there is a situation, and then you are asked not to give the independent and dependent variable, because in a scientific experiment there are variables kasi. So how to identify variables in a scientific experiment? So let's have a sample, scientific method problem here. So let me read this. Mr. Krabs wants to make a Bikini Bottoms a nicer place to live. So he has created a new sauce that he thinks would reduce the production of body gas associated with eating Krabby Patties from the Krusty Krab. So he recruits 100 customers. So 50, he labeled it as Group A. So eating Krabby Patties with the new sauce. Okay, so you can write it down. If you have writing material there, kindly write for Group A. These are the group of customers who eat Krabby Patties. And for the Group B, eat Krabby Patties with sauce that looks like the new sauce, but it is really just mixture of mayonnaise and food coloring. So both groups were told that they were getting the sauce. Okay, so kumbaga dili sila aware kung unsa ba jud nga sauce dito ang bag-o or unsa katong dili katong mixture lang sa mayonnaise and food coloring. So this sauce would kuno, okay, here's the hypothesis, would reduce gas production. So 2 hours after eating the Krabby Patties, 30 customers in Group A reported having fewer gas problems, and 8 customers in Group B reported having, okay, fewer gas problems. So if we compare, Group A has 30 no customers nga effective sa ila ang sauce nga ila, I mean Krabby Patty nga na is new sauce, and for the Group B 8 customers lang. So here the question, in this experiment, what is the dependent variable? So let me reveal first the answer, and let's kumbaga rationalize ngano na mauni ang independent, mauni ang dependent. So here in this question, the dependent variable is the amount of gas. Okay, and for the next question, the independent variable is the new sauce. So here, I have an illustration. So again, in a scientific experiment, okay, variables are being identified, okay, and classified into groups. So, ngadto sa gihimo ni Mr. Crab na experiment, there are 2 groups, di ba? The Group A and the Group B. So here, in a particular scientific experiment, there are 2 groups, okay, involved. We have the control group and the experimental group. So when we talk about control group, this is the group that don't receive any treatment or intervention, while the experimental group mauni sila ang gi-assess or maka-receive sa treatment or intervention. So I have here an example. This is a plant, okay? So, if you are a plant lover, no? Plantita, plantito, okay? Goal dyan na nimo. If it is a flowering plant, goal dyan na nimo nga makaproduce og flower, di ba? Ang imong plant makaproduce og flower. So, if we are aware, okay, one of the factors for plant growth is sunlight exposure, and it could speed up the rate of flowering. So here, if we are going to conduct an experiment, so let's identify the control group and experimental group first, okay, and then let's identify the variables. So once you already have the control group and the experimental group, dali na lang siya i-identify kung unsa ang independent or unsa ang dependent variable. So again, for the control group, for example, here in our experiment, we have the plant. So if we identify a control group, ang sunlight exposure ani is not that kumbaga direct. Okay, so slight lang siya or naa lang siya sa indoor. Kasi nga we believe that one of the factors that could speed up the rate of the flowering is the sunlight exposure. So katong plant nga maka-receive og direct sunlight, that belongs in the experimental group. Okay, so again, control group dili siya maka-receive og treatment, experimental group maka-receive og treatment, and the treatment here is the sunlight exposure. Now let's proceed to the identifying a variable. So in a scientific experiment, there are 3 variables. So we have the control variable, meaning common and constant. Okay, so later mas maintindihan pa na ninyo kung sa ibig sabihin ana. Again, pag mayong tang control, it is common. Okay, both sa katong group, naa siya sa control group, naa po siya sa experimental group na variable. I mean na group, kadto siya nga mga variable, control variable. Independent variable naman, variable that cause changes or simply the treatment. Kung unsa nga treatment ang imong provide sa katong mga groups, ang imong control at experimental. And the dependent variable is now the effect, okay, or the outcome of the independent variable. Again, dependent variable is now the effect or the outcome of the independent variable. So, para mas maintindihan natin, balik tayo sa plant natin, alright? So, what are the control variables present both sa kaninga mga groups na have the control group and experimental group. In experiment man god, it's very important nga naa kay control variable, common or present both sa kaninga mga groups. So kung atong i-identify ang treatment, ang treatment nga sa imong experiment nga ri, the independent variable, that's the independent variable, and the independent variable here is the amount of sunlight. Okay, so this would cause change, or this would cause dependent variable to occur. more. Okay, so ngari, ang common, okay, the common variable no present in the control and experimental group are these: the size of the pot. So in conducting experiment, kinahanglan, for example, kani nag-experiment ka, kinahanglan same ang size sa ilang pot kasi maybe no maka-apekto man gud siya. It could affect the result, di ba? So kailangan ang imong control variable na present both sa kaning mga groups are constant or the same. So size of the pot should be the same, type or and amount of soil, okay, should be the same kasi lisod pod kung okay, lisod pod if the control group, the present soil no nga naa is sigunta sandy, di ba? And then the experimental is loam. Edi syempre mamatay jud ni siya, kani siya mabuhi, di ba? So it should have the same type and amount of soil, and of course the amount of water, okay, and the type of plant. Of course, this pud maglahi sila dapat the same, okay? So here the treatment again is the amount of sunlight, which is your independent variable, and the effect, no, the effect or the outcome no na pwedeng mo-occur here is the number or rate of flowers bloom. So I hope in this example of an experiment, you can now identify what is control variable, independent variable, and dependent variable. So going back to our question here, what is the dependent variable? So the dependent variable there, okay, or the change na pwedeng mo-occur in the experiment is the amount of gas produced. Diba? Kasi nga ito nga since nagkaadaman problema, if nagkaadang problema kumbaga kung sa ato pang term, okay, daghan ang naimpatsyo, nagutot-utot, di ba? So nag-formulate siya og sauce nga pwede daw maka-reduce sa amount of gas. So niingon siya nga okay, kani siyang group A, i-treat na ko siya using the new sauce, and the group B using the artificial lang na sauce. So results revealed na Group A na ay 30 customers, okay, nga nagkaadahin reduction of amount of gas. So it compared to 30 sa katong 8 lang nga nakuha kumbaga naayo, okay, sa Group B. We could say that, or we could conclude that the new sauce is effective compared to the artificial lang. All right, so here the dependent variable is the amount of gas, and the independent variable or the treatment unsa to siya, that is the new sauce. Okay, so I hope karon clear lang sa inyo no how to identify variables. Control, common or constant, both sa control group or and the experimental group, and we have the independent variable, the kumbaga the treatment, okay, or the factor that could cause change, and that change no, that is already your dependent variable. All right, sige, so now let's proceed to the earth signs kasi medyo limited na tayo sa time. Okay, so now let's focus na on earth science. So in earth science, it talks more on the earth and its neighboring planets, no, in space. So during the study of earth science, you will study no geology, oceanography, and meteorology, and of course astronomy, no. So for the question here in earth science, kini siya common good ni siya. Okay, so I hope you're already familiar with the layers of the atmosphere. So in which layer the atmosphere does weather occur? So that, of course, that is troposphere, which is the first layer closest to the earth. Okay, so it is where the weather occur. How about ang ozone layer? Which do you think makita ang ozone layer? So of course that is in the stratosphere. So here I have here a diagram or illustration for you to familiarize the layers of the atmosphere. So tigam nilang usahay man gud ang pangutana sa LET, ang pangutana in which layer kanang makakita ka kuno og airplane ana ang weather mo occur. So basically it's in the troposphere. So pag moingon pud nga ozone layer naa na siya sa stratosphere. Okay, so meteors usually kumbaga mo-enter, okay, first layer nga mo-enter ang mga meteors na ana siya sa mesosphere, and we have familiar mo sa aurora borealis, di ba? So usually na ana siya sa thermosphere, and of course kato siyang mga spacecraft, satellite, spaceships na ana siya sa exosphere. Okay, so TSM, TE. So, kuan lang, may familiarize lang kayo usahay man god ma-interchange or malipat, ma-confuse mo ano unsa ba to strato ba to or tropo. So, TSM. So, troposphere, stratosphere, meso, thermo, and exosphere. Okay, next question. Ito, common din to. One of the recurring questions, what motion of the earth causes the currents of day and night or night and day? So of course that is rotation. Okay, so never na siya mahimong revolution. Okay, kasi revolution that talks about the annual motion na, okay, or the annular motion. So the movement or the movement of earth, no, actually, there are two motions here. So the diurnal motion and annual motion. So diurnal motion is caused by the rotation of Earth on its own axis that causes day and night. Okay? Tigam nilang na ninyo kay usahay, dili rotation ang mugawas. Diurnal. So familiarize lang ninyo pag diurnal motion, it causes that causes day and night. So, ang pinakakuan na niya is the rotation of Earth on its axis. On the other hand, annual motion, that is the revolution. Okay, so Earth's revolution around the sun that causes season. Okay, so or the annual or the annular motion of Earth. Okay, sa usa ka tuig. Alright, so tigam nilang to siya, diurnal, rotation, annual, revolution. Alright, next question. Ito, a lunar eclipse can occur during. So of course, di ba? So tigam na lang nato pero may never nagkaroon ng lunar eclipse during new moon. Labi na good sa katong mga half lang, di ba? Half lang ng moon or katong mga crescent lang, di ba? It always, no? Always dyan na siya occur during full moon. So, mauna siya illustration sa atong lunar eclipse, and of course, it happens during daytime or nighttime. Of course, night. Okay, kasi nga lunar, di ba? Alright, so tingali makalimot lang mo. Okay, so kana siya lunar eclipse occurs when the moon passes directly behind the earth and into its shadow. So mauna siya nga magngit-ngit, di ba, ang kalibutan pag naay lunar eclipse. Alright, sige. So again, kung lunar eclipse, full moon jud na siya per me. Alright, next. Ito, then common. What do the two stars at the end of the cup of the Big Dipper point to? So, if you are fond of astronomy, no, so kanang Big Dipper dali ra gud siya ma-identify sa sky kasi nga observable kaayo ang iyang pattern or constellation. So, ang pangutanangan ni ang Big Dipper man god, there are two stars at the end of its cup. Okay, ingani niya siya ang iyang itsura. Okay, so this is the Big Dipper. Ang pinaka-cup niya, pinaka-cup na portion, it points to the northern star or the North Star. So, this North Star is called Polaris. Tigam nilang ninyo. So, kano Polaris ang North Star or why it is considered as the North Star? Because dili gud siya mo set or mo rise. Naalang gud na siya diha. Although ang other stars no surrounding Polaris mag-move siya throughout the year, Polaris magstay lang gud siya diha. And that would serve as our north point, di ba? So if you are a fisherman or if you're a navigator, although wala kay compass, dali lang ka maka-identify kung naasa naka ba sa karon south part of the globe kana or asa karon nga part. As long as kasabot ka kung asa ang Polaris, you know where is the north. Okay, so that's because it's located kana siya. Okay, so you can read this na lang later. All right, so let's have the next question. Why can the astronauts jump? Okay, so higher on the moon than on the earth, of course. So moon's gravity, man God, is lesser. Okay, it is only 1/6 that of the earth. So we know, if you can still remember our physics, no, we have the constant gravitational force. Okay, of 9.8 meter per second squared. So, ibig sabihin, kung ikaw moadto ka sa moon, ani ka sa only 1/6, gaan jud ka dito. Okay? So, mauna nga makakuang ka nga ito makalupad-lupad, no? So, the weight of an object is the force of the gravity exerted on the object, while the mass, okay. So, sometimes malipat tani. What is the difference between weight and mass? Okay, so most of the time we use weight, di ba, here on Earth because it has the intervention of gravity. So pag moingon po tag mass, ang mass nato nga ni sa Earth compared nga to sa moon, it is still the same. Kasi pag moingon tag mass, it is the amount of object or amount of matter that we have in our body. So, although moadto ta sa moon, moadto ta sa Mars, kung asa pa ta dapit in outer space, our mass would still remain the same. Pero pag weight na ang pinag-uusapan, magmamatter na siya. Okay? Kasi nga, lahi-lahi ang gravity. Okay? Lahi-lahi ang gravity present sa kada for example, planet or celestial body. For example, mga ka sa moon, so lahi po ng gravitational force dito. That is why your weight will also change. Okay, so again, pag mingon nga weight, it has an intervention of gravity, while mass, wala siya. Ang mass, kuha na siya, amount of matter present in an object. So, for example, a 5 gram of apple here on Earth, still 5 gram dito sa moon. Pero ang weight sa apple nganhi sa Earth, maglahi na pag ato na sa moon kasi nga maglahi na ang gravity. So I hope ma-differentiate lang ninyo. Alright, so again, ang gravity found, okay, nga to sa moon, 1/6 lang siya sa nganhi sa Earth. So gamay ra gud siya kayo. That is why ang imong weight dito lesser, okay, compare here in Earth. All right, next question. Geothermal energy and energy resource in the country is based in which phenomenon? So the answer here is there are concentrations of heat in some places of Earth's crust. So, So here we have this what we call geothermal energy, diba? So here in Biliran, ingon sila na daw ta, but I don't know if we are really using it. So when you talk about geothermal energy, this it is the concentration of heat, okay, in a particular place or portion in an Earth's crust, and it can be used as a source of energy. Okay, so tigam nilang ninyo, pag mingon nga geothermal energy, it's a concentration of heat energy found on the Earth's crust. Okay, and next question we have this. Okay, situation. The manager of textile factory considers it too expensive to treat liquid waste. Totoo yan kasi kailangan mo ng sedimentation dyan, kailangan mo ng deliquification. So, as a manager daw, expensive daw mo treat og liquid waste. So ang iyang gibuhat, he suggested digging a hole near the factory where the waste can be stored. So is this environmentally safe? So what do you think is the answer? Yes, the liquid can be recycled. No, the liquid can be recycled. Yes, the liquid will pass through the layers of the soil called clean. No, the liquid waste will seep to the groundwater. So here the answer is, of course, no. That is not environmentally safe, and that is not advisable for liquid waste, no, to be, stored na lang. Kung maghimo ka nga tug hole, unya dito lang nimo ilubong, di na siya pwede. Okay, kasi there are harmful chemicals coming from those waste, no, that will seep to the groundwater, and it could be toxic na. All right, sige, so here, if we experience greenhouse effect, we shall have, ayan, so unsa nga itong ma-expect if we have greenhouse effect? So of course, that is 1 and 2, we have warmer climate and increase the level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So that is common na, di ba, pag yung greenhouse effect. So warmer climate and increased level of carbon dioxide. All right, so next question. Every day we experience these phenomena related to siya sa previous question. So every day we experience these phenomena which lead to harming the planet Earth. So which is the following is not the contributor of this? Okay, so here, what do you think is the answer? Hello, participants, are you still there?
Participants.
Because this is a tricky question. This is a tricky question. Most of the answers here that I got from one of those students nga akong gi-review, no. murag daghan sa kanila din nga rin wala makakuha sa correct na answer. So what do you think is the answer here? Not a contributor of warming the planet Earth. Okay, so the answer here is the greenhouse effect. Okay, so the explanation here is when we talk about greenhouse effect, it is not harmful. Actually, it is a natural process. Okay, it's a natural process of sunlight makes the Earth's surface warm. Okay, mao to nga naatay a warmer climate. In return daw, the land and ocean release heat and infrared radiation into the atmosphere, balancing the incoming energy. So here in Earth, we have this normal process or natural process called greenhouse effect. However, due to human activities like burning of fossil fuels, like katong mga factory nga mo release og mga harmful gases, no? So that's the time na ang greenhouse effect, okay, mo convert, mahimo siyang global warming or enhanced greenhouse effect. Kasi sometimes ang gamiton nga term is enhanced greenhouse effect. Ang greenhouse effect, it is not harmful, it is not, kumbaga dili na siya ang pinaka, normal lang na siyang mahitabo ni sa Earth. However, if there is already an enhanced greenhouse effect, meaning na anay giingon nga production of harmful gases like those gases coming from factories or katong mga katong familiar mo sa chlorofluorocarbons, di ba? Gases that could deplete our ozone layer and pwede po siya ma-contribute sa kanang pag-warm, no? Or kanang giingon na nato nga global warming. So enhanced greenhouse effect or global warming is the mainly caused by water vapor, carbon dioxide, and some other natural occurring gas that absorbs heat, okay, allowing it to warm the lower atmosphere. So on the other hand, ozone depletion is caused by, ayan, chlorofluorocarbons or CFCs, and halons, industrially produced chemicals used for refrigeration, plastic making, and firefighting. So kanading gamiton nga chemical, no, for firefighting that also emits harmful gases, okay, to the atmosphere, resulting to the depletion of the ozone layer. All right, next question. So one consequence of global warming is coastal flooding because of the blank, which in turn caused by blank. So what do you think here is the answer? Okay, so let me reveal. That is letter D, rising of the sea level. So of course, if the globe is already warm, diba? So there's already melting of ice caps and glacier causing the sea level to rise. Okay, so that's why common na karon sa ato no, ang coastal flooding. Okay, and because of the melting of the ice caps and glaciers. Ayan. Next question. The contributory factor to acid rain are the use of course, none other than fossil fuels. Fossil fuels. So burning of fossil fuels, that is the root cause talaga of acid rain. So acid rain daw is caused by a chemical reaction that begins with when compounds like sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides are released into the air. Basta tigam nilang ninyo, acid rain ang pinaka-cause niya, fossil fuels, burning of fossil fuels. Okay, next question. Ito, one of the recurring questions also, di good ni mawala. That is, okay, destructive fishing method, are fish driven out of the coral reef by pounding, no? Nakita na mo sa movie nga Muroami. So that is real, no? So Muroami fishing is one of the destructive way, no, of fishing or fishing methods. So it is kuan talaga not allowed. Okay? So Muroami fishing, tigam nilang ninyo. All right, next question. Okay, murag na touch na nato ganiha. Let's skip that. Yan. Fluorofluorocarbons. Ito, how an earthquake is felt by others and the amount of damage an earthquake creates is determined by its, is it magnitude, is it intensity, duration of shaking, or time of day? So what do you think is the answer here? Kasi sometimes malipad jud ta sa magnitude and intensity, right? So here the question, amount of damage. Okay? amount of damage, ang pinaka-keyword, amount of damage in earthquake. So here, the answer is intensity. So, ano nga ba pinagkaiba ni magnitude? What is the difference between magnitude and intensity? So, tignan lang ninyo. When we talk about magnitude, that is a quantitative measure, meaning it measures the energy released at the source of the earthquake. That is why we have magnitude 7, magnitude 8, kung kusog na siya kaayo. Diba? That is magnitude, the amount of energy released at the source. However, when we talk about the strength, lahi po na siya. Kasi ang strength, if it measures the strength of shaking produced by the earthquake, it causes now destruction. So, if the intensity is determined from effects on people, human structures, and natural environment, it talks about intensity na. Kung unsa ang na-cover sa kana, or unsa nga level of destruction ang na-cover ana nga earthquake, okay, particular earthquake. So it measures this. If it measures strength, it is called intensity. Okay, so ang question ganiha, amount of damage. Okay, so it is about the coverage, okay, of destruction. So of course the answer there is the intensity. Okay, tignan lang ninyo, magnitude, energy released, intensity, the strength. And if it talks about the coverage of destruction, intensity na siya. Okay, and for magnitude, it is measured using the Richter magnitude scale, and we have the modified Mercalli, okay, intensity scale.
Excuse me, Ma'am Annaliza.
Yes?
I request po ito, adjust your camera po. Hindi na po nakikita ang... Sorry. Yan.
Mahulog man gud siya. Kana, ma'am. Okay na?
Kana. Okay na.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. Sige. Okay, let's proceed now to the next question. Climate in a region is determined by, all right, that is temperature and precipitation. So now, let me define climate. No, so when you talk about climate, it is determined by the long-term pattern, okay, of temperature and precipitation. It is different from weather. Kasi ang weather day to day, di ba? Climate, it is determined by a long-term pattern of temperature and precipitation. So, three things that affects climate. First is the latitude. Ibig sabihin katong mga places lying on the equatorial zone, lahi ang climate na to, no? More on kuanta ka ng init jud, di ba? And we have this distance also from a big body of water. Okay, so it could also affect the climate. And lastly is the temperature, but more on the pattern talaga of temperature sa kanang region and precipitation ang kumbaga i-determine, okay, para makaingon ta kung unsa nga climate ang naa nga place. All right, so just remember, when you talk about climate, it is measured or determined through long-term pattern of temperature and precipitation. Okay, and next question. Ayan, familiar ba kayo kay hanging amihan at hanging habagat? Okay, this is a grade 4 topic, no? Name the seasonal wind that is experienced from December to February, also called hanging amihan. So, unsa pa man na, diba? Northeast monsoon. Okay, so what is a monsoon, by the way? Monsoon is a weather pattern. So in the Philippines, the summer monsoon from west to east, it is called habagat. So habagat usually unsa na siya mahitabo, diba? Naana siya sa summer, okay, sa pag-init, diba? And we have the winter monsoon or the northeast, okay, north to northeast direction, okay, it is called amihan, okay, or the hanging amihan. All right, or the northeast monsoon. All right, sige. Okay. Hello? Ma-move. Ma'am PJ, nag-move po ba yung slide?
On what page na po? Monsoon po yung nasa ano?
Summer monsoon?
Summer monsoon na po yung
okay, sige. Nag-loading. Alright, so again, summer monsoon, it is called habagat, tigam nilang. So, there are two monsoons we have here in Philippines. So, we have summer and winter. So, we have habagat and amihan. Alright, sige. So, the next question, At natouch na nato ganiha, di ba? Cause of, ayan, setting and rising of the sun. Ayan, of course, Earth rotates on its axis or the rotation. Okay? Next, a soil sample contains living and non-living materials. Which material daw was once living? Was once living. So of course, that is the decomposing leaves. Kasi among the items or the choices, no, sand particles, small pebbles, and water droplets are considered as non-living. So ang leaves raman, although decomposing siya, dying na ang iyang cell, it is once living. Okay? So, decomposing leaves ang answer nga rin. Alright? So, I hope makadistinguish lang mo what is non-living and living. Right? Because that is basic. Okay, so the next question. What is the role, kasabot na tani, what is the role of a producer or autotroph? Okay, in a food chain, of course, they makes food. Okay? Source of food. Alright. Here, which resource is renewable? So, kung sa giingon nga renewable and non-renewable, okay? Ayan, resources. So we have here in the choices, we have coal, natural gas, solar, and uranium. So among the choices, unsa lang ang ma-renew. So sa patatana, di ba? We use that, solar, solar energy. So here, resources are characterized by renewable or non-renewable. So when we talk about renewable, ibig sabihin, it can replenish itself. Okay? And that is solar is an example of renewable resources. However, when we talk about non-renewable, ibig sabihin, the supply is only limited and it cannot be replenished. Okay? So tigam nilang ninyo, renewable, it can be replenished, non-renewable, limited. Alright, next question. Ito din. The layer that separates the crust from the mantle is this is very common, no? So Gen Ed science questions. So that is moho. Familiar mo? Di ba sa pag-introduce sa ato sa layers of the earth, there are actually four lang. The crust, the mantle, the outer core, and the inner core. However, if we have this representation, kanang hard-boiled egg, di ba? When we crack the outer shell, that represents the crust, there is this thin membrane, di ba? Before siya mag-egg white. So, that represents moho. Okay, so ma'am, what is moho? So, moho is actually a short term for moho revisit discontinuity. So, it is defined by the distinct change in it is the boundary, okay, between the Earth's crust and mantle. So ang iyang pinaka function ani is it marks as a boundary, okay? It marks the boundary between the mantle and the liquid magma and the hardened magma that forms the crust. So tignan niyo ninyo the membrane, okay, that acts as boundary between mantle and crust. That is moho. Okay, usually di naman ihatag ang complete good nga term. Okay? Usually, ang mugawas lang, moho lang nga term. So, tigan nilang niyo yung moho. Okay? Sige. Next is what is the greatest threat? What is the greatest threat to our environment? So, what is your answer there, participants? What is the greatest threat to our environment? Of course, that is the human. Okay? The human destruction. Okay, so that's a trivia. All right. Next. Another trivial question, the age of. So we know this already that it is around 4.5 billion years old na. So kung dili mo gawas ang 4.5 billion, tigam nilang ninyo that there are 8 zeros. 4.58 zeros. Okay, para mas madali. So that is, ayan, 4.5 billion years old na si Earth. Next, which of the following is not one of the 4 inner planets? So there are how many planets that we have now? Diba? We have 8. Okay? There is a rumor nga nibalik na daw si Pluto, but it's still on the process. Okay, so basically we have 8. We have the 4 inner planets and the outer 4 gihapon. So here, if you kailangan ma-memorize sad nimo ang iyang pagkasunod-sunod, closest from i-memorize nimo ang kinsay pinaka-closest to the sun and farthest to the sun. So ngari giingon inner, okay, inner planets. So we are talking here the planets, okay, closest or closer to the sun. So karon pa lang memorize na lang daan ang pagkasunod-sunod sa planet if mo pa pagkasunod-sunod. So we have Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Uranus, Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. Okay, so here, 4 inner planets. So consider here we consider Mars, Earth, sorry, hindi to, Venus to actually yung letter D. Sorry, hindi ko siya na-edit. So, A, B, is D is Venus. So, Mars, Earth, and Venus is considered, okay, inner planets because they are closer to the Sun. So, Neptune, murag layo-layo na siya, di ba? So, considered na siya as the outer planets or the Jovian planets. So, nawala akong explanation nga rin. Anyway, tignan na lang nato. Sa 8 nga planets, okay, that we have, the 4 inner planets are the Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. Okay, pagkasunod-sunod na siya. And then we have the outer planets. We have the Jupiter, Uranus, Jupiter, Uranus, wait. Okay, so we have the Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, the Jupiter, the Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, and Uranus. Ano ba? Pagkasunod-sunod? Oh my gosh, I forgot. Sorry. Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars. And then we have the Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Okay? Sorry, medyo na-confuse lang. Ayan, next. We have the outer planets. So, ito kasabot nata, di ba? Pag mayroon tanga outer planets, kasi ang inner planets, most likely they are composed of rocky materials. So, Mercury, Venus, Earth, composed of rocky materials. Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars pala. And then the outer planets is mainly composed of gases. So, they are composed of hydrogen and helium. Okay? Tignan lang nato pag outer planets, these are gas, okay, mainly made up of gas. And for inner planets, they are made up of rocks. All right, so kana. Okay. All right, so let's have these plate boundaries. So familiar ta sa divergent, convergent, and transform. So here, question, a blank plate boundary is illustrated in the figure shown above. So kung makita natin ang figure, there is an arrow, no, pointing, ayan. Asa siya nag-point? Okay, away, di ba? Away. So, away to each other. So, here, the answer is divergent. So, the movement of the plates creates 3 types of tectonic boundaries. So, you have the convergent, divergent, and transform. So, for the convergent, tigamnan lang nato, it moves into one another. Okay, so here is the representation, no, of convergence. So it moves towards each other, and we have divergent moving away naman or moving apart. And for transform, it moves sideways. Okay, tigamnan lang ninyo, convergent, converge, diverge, away, transform, sideways. Okay. All right, next question. Which of the following statements about convection is true? Okay, so are you familiar with the movement of particles? Okay, we have the conduction, convection, and radiation. So here, the answer is hot materials flows upward. Okay, so here is the explanation. So here in conduction, tignan na lang nato that energy is transferred by direct contact. So an example of that here is the kanisha picture. So kanisha, there is a direct contact of heat. So kung imong kaptan, no, ang usa ka material nga naa siya heat, no, energy. So that energy would directly not transfer to you. So that is an example of a conduction or movement or transfer of energy by direct contact. However, when we talk about convection, it is transferred by the mass motion of molecules or the movement of the heat by the actual motion. So always should na ang movement from higher to lower energy or concentration. So kung magpabukal ko no ka, going back to the kanisha convection, hot material usually flows upward, no, upward, displacing the cooler material. So ayan, cooler material. So, tignan lang nato nga pag convection, it is the transfer, okay, or movement of heat by actual motion of matter. So, the movement is from higher, no, energy to lower Okay, energy. Next is the radiation. So this is a transfer of energy with the help of electromagnetic waves. So for example, ani is kana mag-bonfire ta, di ba? The source of heat, and then eventually that heat will travel, okay, through help of the electromagnetic wave, mo transfer sa ato ang heat. So that is not directly talaga contact, okay? And ayan, it is the transfer of energy with the help of electronic magnetic waves. Another example of that is the sun exposure. Okay, so mapabuwad ta, after a few minutes, maka-feel na ta, di ba, that our skin is already burning sometimes, di ba? For example, mag-beach ta. So that's example of a radiation movement, okay, of the heat energy. So tigam na lang nato conduction, the movement, okay, the movement is from higher to lower, okay, so there is a movement of heat, and then radiation is through waves, okay. Next question is ito, trivia. What is the name of the large supercontinent that existed 200 million years? So kasabot na tani large, tigam nilang ninyo ni nga keyword supercontinent. Okay, so unsa pa man na, di ba? None other than Pangaea. Okay, tigam nilang na ninyo. Next question. What do you call the process in which smaller rock pieces were moved by the natural forces? Okay, so we have this term in chemistry, no? I mean in earth science, sorry, weathering and erosion. So ano yung sinasabing weathering and what is erosion? Actually, these are natural forces, no, in the environment. So here the answer is erosion. So if we describe weathering and erosion, weathering is actually the breaking down of or dissolving of rocks and minerals. So mainly rocks dagko gud na siya, like boulders, diba? So through time, through the process of weathering, it can be break down into smaller pieces. Kana siya nga mga smaller pieces from big rocks, diba? Through weathering, yes. All right, sige, let's proceed. Kisa to. Okay. Sige, so again, weathering, it describes the breaking down or dissolving of rocks and minerals. And once the rock has been broken down, okay, a process called erosion transport these bits of rocks and minerals away. So weathering, para ni siya sa mga bigger, okay, bigger rocks. So example ani, or the famous example of this is the Grand Canyon of the US state of Arizona. So before, this was just a rock. Dako rock, good na plain ra siyang rock. Okay? Pag moyong lang gutag rock, di lang na siya gamay. Okay? Rock is a big, okay, part of the Earth's crust. So before, Grand Canyon was just a large rock. So through weathering and erosion, maano na siya ang naata karon, di ba? So in the present, we have this beautiful, okay, landscape, okay, through natural process of weathering and erosion naata ani, okay, nga land formation. All right. Next question. Molten rock found on. Okay, so usahay malipatan din, no? Is it lava or magma? Molten rock found on the surface of the earth is known, of course, that is lava. Okay, so do not forget, magma, molten rock underground. Okay, anapa na siya sa sulod. Okay, sa crust or sa volcano, and lava is already the molten rock that breaks through the Earth's surface. Okay, or the flowing, okay, molten rock. Ayan. Next question. Ayan, ito. One of the recurring questions also, the rise and fall of water on Earth is caused mainly by high tide, low tide. Familiar mo? Okay, so what causes high tide?
Moon's gravity, ma'am.
Exactly, that's good. All right, so moon's gravity, of course. Okay, so through moon's gravity, ito yung nangyayari. High tides and low tides are caused by the moon or moon's gravity. So through the gravitational pull generates, okay, moon, called tidal force, no, murag birahon na siya. For example, full moon, di ba pag full moon mas closer siya to the earth. So mas taas ang iyang, or it has a higher tidal force. So ayan, that's the representation. Ayan, extreme high tide. So what will happen here? The tidal force causes Earth and its water to bulge out on the side closest to the moon and the side farthest from the moon. So these bulges of water are high tide. So nakita ninyo kani siya nga pool, di ba, from the earth, from the moon. Okay? So murag birahon siya. So that causes high tide. So kung kani move po na pud ni siya, di ba? Sa other part, for example, sa planet nato, di ba, or the earth. Also, kung there is a higher tidal force, no, mas taas ang tide. Okay? So depende na siya kung asa nakasituate ang atong moon. Alright. So, tigam nilang to, what causes high tide, low tide, or the tides, that is the moon. Okay, ito po, kani siya nga question, no? Sometimes tricky. Meteorology is the study of. What do you think is the answer?
Letter D, ma'am?
Alright.
Letter D?
No! Alright! Singon pa ko. Actually, no? Pag maingon ganit ang meteorology, talaga halos lahat nag-answer, ma'am, the study of extraterrestrial meteoroids that enters the atmosphere or kanang pag-contact sa meteoroids sa atong atmosphere, that is meteorology. However, when we talk about meteorology, it is the study of the atmosphere. Okay, so ayaw jud siya kalimti or ayaw mo ka confuse. Okay, so when you talk about meteorology, the study of the atmosphere, okay, and the processes happened in our atmosphere. All right. Next question: what shape does rainbow have? What do you think is the shape?
R?
Alright, sige. Actually, no, the shape is ring or full circle. So rainbows are actually full circles. However, since we are in the horizon, no, in a horizon, or we are standing in a horizon, ang ato lang jud ma-perceive sa atong eyes is the half circle. But if kanang mga viewers sa aircraft can sometimes see these circular rainbows or full circle rainbows. So, tigam ni, the shape of the rainbow is not an arc or half circle, but it's a ring or full circle. All right, next question. The measure of the hotness and the coldness, kani balik-balik ni nga pangutana, pero daghan gihapoy masayo. What is the correct answer here? What do you think is the correct answer here? Hello?
B? Ma'am! It's B? B is
Sige daw. Okay.
A, ma'am?
Measure of hot.
It's A.
Wala nang iba yan. Temperature. Okay? Usahay mo answer nga Celsius. Usahay mo answer thermometer. Okay, please remember, measure, if you are going to measure the hotness or the coldness of an object, measuring temperature. Okay? So, temperature na siya. Ito na. Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina. What is the scientific name for red tide? Familiar mo sa red tide? Na red tide na ba kayo? Ayan, sige. The answer there is the harmful algal bloom. So, harmful algal bloom, tigam nina ninyo nga term, kay permi na siya mo gawas, di gani na yun ang pangayoon nga concept, usay pangayoon po ning red tide. Okay, so they are different but they are related. Okay, so when we talk about the red tide, it is actually a harmful algal bloom that causes the water to turn into a reddish color because the algae present no sa kanang body of water has a reddish color. So mao na nga mura na siya kuan, dugo no. So due to the accumulation of algae that have a reddish pigment, kasi lahi-lahi ang color sa algae na ay like green, na ay blue, na ay brown. Okay, so kaning red tide, kaning algae no na responsible for the red tide, ang iyang color is somewhat reddish pigment. So it may cause fish kill or seafood contamination through toxins that may alter ecosystem in negative ways. So ang red tide talaga, ang pinaka-cause ani niya is the the overproduction of red algae. Okay, gitawag siya nga algal bloom. Okay, ang pinaka-cause aning algal bloom is kaning si dinoflagellate. Dinoflagellate, o tingali pangutanan mo, what causes red tide? Okay, pwede mo ang answer dito, usahay may mugawas, is it diatoms, is it dinoflagellate? Tigan nilang ninyo ang term nga dinoflagellate. Although dili mo science major, some of you here already familiar with this term. Dinoflagellate is actually a protist, okay? Kaning mga protist usually mauni siya ang mga cause jud sa mga infections, okay? Or toxins, okay? Found in bodies of water. So dinoflagellate, it's a class of algae and many of which make harmful algal blooms and are toxic. Kumbaga sila man gud ni ang mo-trigger sa overproduction or kanang pag-bloom sa mga red algae. So that causes red tide. Okay, so how it is related to eutrophication? Actually, ang eutrophication, di ba, naingon taganiha is the overproduction or the over production of nutrients in the bodies of water. So kaning actually kaning eutrophication is actually the general pod nga cause sa algal bloom kasi ang mahitabo man gud no, if there is already a depletion of oxygen, di ba, pag eutrophication there is a depletion of oxygen, that's the time nga mo bloom pod kanang mga algae, ganahan sila nga ingana nga environment. So if there is eutrophication, there is algal bloom. So if there is algal bloom, na siya red tide. So usa pod siya no nga cause, okay, for fish kill and for katong harmful toxins nga pwede mo penetrate sa mga shells, di ba? So dili jud siya tawag ni safe, okay, to eat those seafood, di ba? Nga wait. Nakuha na po ng akong cam. Okay, affected by the algal bloom, okay? All right, next question. Blank is produced when supercooled raindrops freeze in contact. Actually, no, when I encountered this question, actually na-encounter din ako during the time that I took the LET. Di good din ako siya makalimtan kasi wala ko yung idea ani. Oo, di ko sabot unsay grapple, unsay glaze, unsay drizzle, kasabot ko unsay snow o drizzle. Wa ko kasabot kung unsa ni siya, okay? Unsa ning grapple o glaze. So ako na lang gi-rationalize ang pinaka-statement nga ri, blank is produced when supercooled raindrops freeze in contact with solid objects. So akong gi-imagine ang for example ang chicken nga glaze, di ba? So unsa iyang itsura ana. So ang akong answer nga ri, glaze. Okay? So and fortunately that is correct, glaze. So actually no, after I took the exam, gi-search jud din ako, what are these grapple, glaze, ana? Actually these are different forms pala of raindrops. Okay, so mao ni itsura sa glaze. Okay, so kung nakita wala man taan ni diri sa Pilipinas. Mao nga di ko familiar. So glaze is actually ice coating that forms when super cold rain, drizzle or fog drops strike surfaces that have temperatures. Okay, so although dili gud ni siya common nga sa ato sa Philippines, just familiarize na lang kay tingali mo gawas pud sa inyong exam, glaze. All right, so ingana siya ang iyang itsura. So there is an ice coating on the surface of a particular object nga iyang for example makuanan sa rain, okay, or sa drizzle. So ingana na siyang itsura, mo siya glaze, di ba? Or the coat. All right, sige. Next question. By the way, sige, nag-break naman taganiha. Let's proceed na lang, no? So we could maximize the time. So now, let's proceed to the third part, which is the chemistry. And yan, so here, chemistry is the scientific study of properties and behavior of matter. So here we deal with organic, analytical, physical, inorganic, and biochemistry. So here, question. So this is an elementary, okay, type of question kasi kuan ko ni siya, balik-balik ni siya, mugawas gud ni siya kasi nga it happens good every day. Okay, we can observe these process, okay, or changes in our day-to-day life. So here, question, a chemical change is different from physical change because in a chemical change, unsa man siya. So here, the answer is, of course, there is a new substance formed. So that is one of the indicator that a particular object undergo chemical change if there is a new substance formed. So tignan lang nato if we going to identify if it undergo physical or chemical change, just look into its property lang. Okay, so kung if there is already a change in the chemical structure or a change in the form, okay, so I mean in the chemical form, or if there's already a new substance form, chemical na siya. Pero kung wala, okay, the physical property naalang gihapon, papel lang siya gihapon, bisag ikumot-kumot na nimo, bisag imo nang gikat, papel lang siya gihapon, ang chemical structure niya wala ma-alter, then that is physical change. Okay, so I know we already knew that. Okay, next question. Choose which material could be used as insulator. Okay, so this is common: insulator and conductor. Conductor that allows the transmission, okay, of heat energy. Insulator naman traps. Okay, so here, insulator, so of course, iron, copper, and aluminum, these are all conductors, so the answer here is plastic. Alright, so kasabot na ta more, ito, trivia, most plastics are not good conductors, they are insulators. So, I know naka-familiar na mo sa insulation foam, di ba, nga atong ibutang sa atong, kung wala pa tayo alkuba, di ba, sa balay, usahay mauna siya ang ibutang nato to insulate the heat energy. Alright, next. Ito, some chemical reactions require the substance called catalyst. Ito, balik-balik po din nga pangutana, if you are not familiar with catalyst nga term, no, sa chemistry, tigam nilang ninyo, catalyst, if you're a catalyst of change, for example, so when you talk about catalyst, it speeds up. Okay, it speeds up chemical reaction. So in a particular chemical reaction, para siya mas paspas ang iyang, okay, reaction, you need a catalyst there. So tigam nilang substance that called catalyst, its function or purpose is to speed up the reaction. Ayan. Ito naman, di ba pina-prepare ko kayo ng scientific calculator. Alright, kasi in general exam, you are asked sometimes no sa mga questions, pangutanong dyan ng density, no? So here, the formula is very simple. So i-familiarize lang ang formula. Okay, density, ayan, is equal to mass over its volume. So here, okay, so kung if we have here the given mass and the volume, so all you need to do is to divide. Okay, so ang formula is kana. Okay, so if we define density, it's the mass of an object divided by its volume. So density is equal to mass over volume. So sa atong question ganiha, or sa problem nga naata, given na si mass and volume, so all you need to do is to divide. Okay, and you can do a little bit of algebra if, for example, ang pangutanon mass, unya given ang density of volume, so you just kanang create, okay, and another formula out of this mother formula. All right, so a little bit of algebra lang. Okay, so density often has units of grams per cubic centimeter. So tigam nilang na siya nga unit ninyo sa density. So again, density, mass over volume. Okay, so tigam nila na niyo nga formula. All right, here, a stretched rubber band has what type of energy? Is it kinetic, elastic potential, gravitational potential, nuclear energy? So stretched rubber band, have you tried that? Have you tried stretching for example, a slinky or anything na muinat? Okay, naka-try na mo ana. So after you i-release, what will happen to that object or to the rubber band? So here, the answer is elastic potential energy. Ma'am, ngano potential energy man siya? Di ba ma'am, pag potential energy, ang sa yung definition sa potential energy? Okay, kasi sometimes, ang tudlo man gud no, ang tudlo man gud sa ato before, okay, pag mayon gani potential energy, energy at rest dayon, okay, which is not, okay, dili siya literal energy at rest. So here, let me elaborate the difference between kinetic and potential. Kinetic, alam na natin yan, energy in motion, okay. However, potential energy, and that is it can describe into, it could be a gravitational or it could be an elastic. So when you talk about potential energy, this energy is stored, okay, in an object or a system. So it can be related to its position, okay. So for example, if I will lift a ball, okay? So, kana pa lang nga pag-lift na ko sa ball, na ay force na applied. So, once I release the ball, okay? So, pag-lift pa lang na ako sa ball, there is already a potential energy there, and once I release it, okay, it will transform into kinetic energy, and once it hit, okay, to the ground, it would cause heat, okay, energy, and produce sound energy after. So there we can see the law of conservation of energy, di ba? Kasi nga, di ba sabi ng law of conservation of energy, energy daw can neither be destroyed nor created. It can only be transformed to one form, okay? One form to another, I mean. So here, if it is related to its position, okay, so if you are going to lift a particular object, okay, it is against to the gravitational, okay, force. Okay, that's already an intervention of gravity. So that is why it is called gravitational potential energy. So tigamnan ninyo, no, nga ang potential energy classified into GPH, gravitational potential, GPE, gravitational potential energy, or the elastic potential energy. Ang elastic naman, this is potential energy present on those objects that are being stretched. Okay, so like here in have you tried playing a slinky? So di ba katong mga bata pa tahilig ta magduan ng slinky, katong inat-inat gani nga mag spring, di ba nga colorful. So once you stretch that, it will pull itself back to its original shape kasi nga daan pa lang sa kanang object na ana siya potential energy, and once you stretch it, ubalik ra pud siya, di ba? Murag magkukuan na siya, mag-bounce ra siya kasi nga originally it has potential energy, and once you stretch it, okay, you apply force, and once you release it, okay, nahimo na siya nga kinetic energy. So tignan lang ninyo, GPE na siya intervention of gravity, elastic naman, those are potential energy present on those objects nga pwede siyang ma-stretch. Okay. Next. 76. What is an example of chemical change? So alam na natin to, chemical change, boiling of water, wala namang nangyari sa property, water pa rin, di ba? So physical yan. Melting of rubber, na-melt lang naman siya, walang nangyari, rubber pa din, physical yan. Dissolving of salt in the water, salt pa rin, water pa rin, walang may nangyari, di ba? Of course, so chemical change is the kanang nasa letter C, nails turns into rust. Okay, so that's an example of chemical change. Ayan. Alright, ito naman. This is quite tricky pod kasi sometimes gawas ni siya sa exam, unya wala kay idea ba, especially nga dili ta padalhon og periodic table. So ngari given ihatag pud siya, okay lang walay periodic table kay hatag man maihatag man ang mga quantity. So tigamnan lang nato, okay, let me show first the answer. Ang pangutana nga rin, what is the mass number of an atom which contains 28 protons, 28 electrons, and 34 neutrons? What is the mass number of an atom? Ang ipangutana nga rin, mass number, given ang proton, electrons, and neutrons. So here is the explanation and formula. Tigamnan lang ninyo, for all atoms with no charge, tanang atoms, the number of electron, okay, the number of electron is equal to the number of protons. And the number of protons is equal to the atomic number or the atomic mass. Okay, so here, tigamnan lang ninyo nga, ang number sa kuno sa electron equal to the number of protons, and the mass number is the sum of the protons and neutrons. Nakahinumdum mo sa question, given ang protons and neutrons, sorry. So ang gipangutan na mass number. So since giingon nga rin mass number is the sum of protons and neutrons, so all you need to do is to add. Okay? So i-add lang si 30 4 and 28, so that is yan, 62. So, maura niya inyong tigamnan nga, yan, sorry. Ana, for example, mauni usahay man god sa exam ang tagaan mog illustration like this. So, tigamnan lang ninyo nga kani siya ang number, okay? Usahay napod na siya sa butnga. Tigamnan lang ninyo that this is the atomic number. And atomic number, okay, is equal to the number of protons. And di ba ningon ta ang proton is equal also to electrons. So, ibig sabihin 36 ang amount of proton and electrons. Now, for the mass number or the atomic weight, you can find here. Ayan. Usually diha good na siya makasituate no under the name of the element. So here 83.80 is the atomic weight or the mass number. So unsa to atong definition ganiya sa mass number? Mass number is the total number of protons and neutrons in the nucleus. So kung given si mass number, wala dili given si neutron, dali ra pud pangitawan si neutron kasi nga the mass number is the total number of proton and neutron. So kung given si mass number, i-deduct or i-subtract lang nimo ang number sa proton. So that could give you a number of neutrons. So here for krypton, for example, okay, so if you're going to identify the atomic number here, okay, the atomic number there is 36. Okay, so atomic number is also equal to the number of proton and electrons. So that is why we have here, quantity 36 and 36 also. 36 for proton and 36 for electron. And for the atomic weight, we have 83.80. Round off natin yan. We have 84. And for the neutron, okay, so ang ginawa lang natin dito, di ba, in order to get the neutron, you have to subtract, okay? Subtract lang natin 84, which is the mass number, minus the amount of proton, 36, and that is 48. Okay, so I hope nakasabot lang mo ani nga part kasi usahay mo gawas ni siya unya wala ta kasabot magunsa ta, di ba? Sa tigam nilang number of atomic number, the atomic number, sorry, is equal to the number of proton and electrons. Okay, ihatag man gud na siya sa exam. And then if you are going to identify the neutron, unya mass number lang ang given, so i-deduct lang ang mass number to the proton, number of proton. If ang mass number naman ang missing and then na si neutron, i-add lang si proton o si neutron. So that will give you an answer for your mass number. Alright? Okay, sige. So ito naman, this is a trivia. What is the most abundant gas in the atmosphere? That is nitrogen. Tigam nilang na ninyo because nitrogen comprises 78, okay, 0.09, alright, volume, okay, sa atong atmosphere. And next of that is the oxygen, and we have the argon. Pero usually ang pangutana man gud na unsay pinaka dako, no? So that is the nitrogen. All right, next question. Ito, of course, no, wag nating kalimutan. The person who developed the table of elements or the periodic table of elements, none other than Dmitry Mendeleev. So that is letter C. Sorry, wanna move. That is C. Okay. Wait, ako na lang i-edit. That is letter C. Okay, Gregor Mendel is the father of genetics. Okay, so that is Dmitry Mendeleev. Okay, next question. When you hurt, ito is situational. When you hurt your ankle, thermodynamics can help you heal. Blank reaction reduces the swelling by cooling your injury. So what do you think? The type of reaction no, na pwede nating i-apply when you hurt our ankle. And nihubag siya. Okay, so here the answer is, what do you think is the answer? What type of reaction in thermodynamics could help you heal your ankle if it is already swelling? For example, nakuan ka, nakapilok. Diba? So the answer there is endothermic reaction. So what is endothermic and what is exothermic? So let us just remember exothermic reactions. These are reactions that release energy, okay, in a form of heat. So an example of this is burning gasoline. So if you burn a gasoline, there is this exothermic reaction called combustion reaction. So it releases heat. So if it releases heat, the reaction, okay, happening is an exothermic reaction. On the other hand, when you talk about endothermic, absorb naman siya ng heat. Okay, so kung nag-swell ang imong ankle, so you can apply endothermic reaction through ice pack, di ba? For example. So para mas ma-absorb ang heat, para mas kuan siya, ma-release ang stress and heat, di ba? So it could relieve, no, the stress or the pain. Okay. Basta tigan nila, exothermic, release. Okay, endo, absorb. All right. Next question. Ang kanipod siya. Actually, sa atong periodic table of elements, i-familiarize lang ninyo ang mga naa sa bawbaw. Kaning ba nga part? Here. Nakita lang ninyo? Nakita lang ninyo itong mga akong screen for periodic table? Okay, so if this is okay, so no need, okay, kasi hindi tayo allowed to bring the periodic table of elements. So no need to memorize all. Pero kung kaya mo, memorize mo na lang. Pero ako, advice ko, i-memorize mo lang tong part na to. Here, in the first group 1 and group 2, kani siya. From H, hydrogen, to sodium, pakanhi, nanhi part, kani siya. Ang mga naalang sa first 3 levels, okay, or layer. Kana lang ang medyo i-familiarize. Kay mauna siya usually ang pangayoon, like what is the valence electron of carbon, what is the group number of nitrogen, oxygen, or unsa ang symbol sa boron, like B. Kana lang siyang i-familiarize. No need to familiarize all. Okay, so usually ang pangutana lang ko ng mga basic, di ba? And common elements. So going back to our question, which of the following is the element represented by the symbol B? So here, barium, that is Ba, di ba? Bismuth is Bi, beryllium is Be. So here, the boron represented by the symbol B. So here, i-memorize lang good to siya nga part, okay, para mas dali lang nimo mahinumdum, okay, kaya usahay maihatag ang name, and then you will you'll be asked to give the symbol, or pwedeng symbol lang ihatag, you'll be asked to give its complete name. All right, so ayan, B is for boron. Okay. All right, so are you familiar with sublimation? So this is a topic gihapon elementary, phases, okay, of matter. So we have, di ba? What are the phases of matter? So tingali nakalimot na mo, di ba, sa phases of matter. Sublimation is one of the processes or changes in the phase of matter. So sublimation, okay, I will reveal the answer. It is a process, okay, where the solid turns directly into a gas. Actually, phase changes or the changes in the phase of matter includes 5. Okay, we have this melting, freezing, condensation, evaporation, and sublimation. So all phase changes or changes in the phase of matter, it requires either the addition of heat or the subtraction of heat energy. So if you look into the melting process, no, so it occurs when a solid changes into a liquid. So familiar na tayo nakasabutan na, okay? Solid to liquid, that is melting. Liquid to solid, that is freezing. How about gas to liquid? Okay, that is condensation. Evaporation is liquid to gas. And sublimation is solid to gas. So what is an example of sublimation? So familiar man ta sa mothball or kanang albatross, di ba? Nga ibutang nato sa atong comfort room, di ba? So through time, mausa ka na wala naman ang akong albatross nga rin asa na. Actually, it undergoes, okay? Through time, it undergoes sublimation process. That is why katong solid nimo nga material, which is the albatross, through time, no, it transform to gas. Okay, so ang process again is sublimation, solid to gas. So tigam nilang ninyo, solid to liquid melting, liquid to solid freezing, and so on. Okay, so that's it. Next question. Related gihapon. An uncovered pot of soup is simmering on a stove. Okay, naka experience mong pakalagkad, di ba? Pakalagkad og soup or sabaw. And there are water droplets on the wall above the back of the stove. Or siguro na lang nato ang taklob mismo. Diba? Or the katang wall sa imong pot. What sequence can you infer has occurred? So here, of course, that is evaporation to condensation. So remember, evaporation, gas to liquid, okay? Sorry, liquid to gas, and then liquid to gas, okay, evaporation muna. And then, the droplets is already the product of condensation. Kasi after evaporation, di ba, unsay mo sunod sa water cycle? Okay, so I hope di na nimo makalimutan. Okay, water cycle. Grade 6. Okay, grade 6 tingali na, grade 5. Alright. Sige. Ito. Which law? Ayan, na-mention ko na to kanina, law of conservation of energy, or the first law of thermodynamics states that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. Okay, so here the question, the answer I mean is the first law. So actually sa law of thermodynamics, ang pinakasikat or pinaka-applicable sa lahat ng processes, no, or lahat ng explanation about changes in matter, more on first law talaga and second law also. So what are these laws? So actually no need to memorize talaga. Tigam nilang, law of conservation states that energy can neither be created nor destroyed, and it can only be transferred from one form to another. So ibig sabihin din jud na nimo ma-form. Okay? Wala pa nakabutang sa history nga naka-form of energy. Diba? It can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only be transferred from one form to another. So ganyan ako example, lifting a ball, potential energy, releasing a ball, it will become kinetic energy, and once it hit to the ground, it produces heat energy, and after heat energy, it will create a sound energy. So ing ana na siya, after sound energy, ma-convert na po siya to another form of energy. Okay, so ing ana na ang giingon nga first law of thermodynamics or law of conservation of energy. All right, and the second law of thermodynamics naman says that entropy of any isolated. So actually, di na mo kailangan, ang imo lang kailangan jud ma-master ang first law kasi more on maugod na ang pinaka-applicable, no, sa mga real life situation. Actually, ang entropy, ang ayan po ni siya nga law, no, ganahan ko ani nga law kasi it states that an organized body daw, okay, in a closed system will eventually be disordered, okay, through time. Bisag wa kay buhaton. For example, sa imong room, murag ingon ta, karon nang limpyo pa lang ka. Pero through time, singon ta after 1 month, bisag no matter how tidy you are kanang pinmi ka manipid, pero makapansin ka nga murag na disorder, makuan ko siya, ma-disorganize siya. Okay? So because of the law of the second law, or the ingon nga the entropy kuno of any isolated system always increases. Entropy man gud maingon ta disorder. So actually tingali mo gawas ni siya, if ever mo gawas ni siya, so tigami lang second law, it talks about entropy or disorder. Niingon nga sa kalibutan daw through time, bisag unsa pa ka-organize na siya nga body, through time it will be disorganized. Okay, so kung imong cellphone, bag-o na siya, gamitan na siya. Okay, ayaw na siya pag tinagua, limpi-limpyuhi. Okay, mas the more noon siya nga ma-disorganize. Alright? Parang gugma lang, kumbaga, di ba? It takes an effort. Di ko na nimo pabayaan para di siya ma-disorganized. Okay? Kana. Alright, sige. So let's proceed to the next question. Ito, para lang to kanina sa pot. When a person wearing glasses enters a warm house, so that is condensation. Okay, so mag-form dyan siya og fog. Okay, so kanang mga magsulot og glasses. Alright, next is endothermic. So familiar na tayo, endothermic absorb. So of course, that is melting. That is an example of endothermic change. Okay, next is ito, the electrons involved in the formation of chemical bond. Tigamnan lang ninyo, every bonding, okay? Bonding sa mga chemicals, ang electrons lang talaga na involved are the valence electrons. Ma'am, what are these valence electrons? So, valence electrons, these are the electrons found in the outer shell of an atom. So, here, narita sa inyong periodic table, no? Para maka-familiarize lang mo. So, mag-practice-practice na mo sa balay. The arrangement of our periodic table, nakita lang man ninyo, di ba? So the arrangement of our periodic table, it is arranged by period, horizontal, and by column or group. Okay, so again, horizontal, paingana ang iyang arrangement, that is what we call period. Okay, and for column naman, paubos, vertical, that is what we call group. Okay, so in identifying valence electron, all you need to identify muna is the group number. For example, si hydrogen is located here. So this is the group 1. Okay, so group 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we will skip this, kaning mga transition metals here in counting valence electrons because they have complicated numbers. So we will focus na lang muna, okay, basic lang naman din to. So you are going to, you will familiarize lang this. Group 1, this second column is the group through 2. We have the group 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So we have 8 groups. So for example, the question is, what is the valence electron of oxygen? Count lang ka. Start from here, left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So naaman siya sa group 6, ibig sabihin na siya 6 valence electrons. Okay, kaya usahay mautan na kung pila kaha ang valence electrons sa oxygen. So ibig sabihin, it has 6 valence electrons, it has 6 electrons on the outer shell, okay? Ug mao lang na siya ang electrons nga responsible for chemical bonding. So, mautan na, what is the valence electron of aluminum? So pila, naa siya sa group 3, so ibig sabihin na siya 3 valence electron. Beryllium, naa siya sa group 2, naa siya 2 valence electrons. Neon, naa siya sa group 8. So naa siya 8 valence electrons. So nga na lang siya ang pag-identify sa valence electrons. Again, ang definition sa valence electron, these are electrons, okay, responsible or involved during chemical bonding. Dili tanang electrons sa usa ka atom ang participate sa chemical bonding, only the valence electrons. So far, maura man pud na ang mga ipangutan na jud sa gen ed science. What is valence electrons? How to find valence or how to find or look valence electrons. Alright? Sige, next question. Okay. Okay, so in chemical bonding, there are 3 types. Okay, so tiganan lang ninyo, mugawas nga nina sa statement na ay ion nga term, automatic na siya, ionic bond. Okay, so here the answer is ionic bond. Okay, sorry. All right, so here again, we have, karon updated, we already have 4 bonds, but before talaga, tulo lang jud na siya. That is the common. Okay, so we have the ionic bonds. Tigam na lang nato, these are the bonds formed between ions. Okay, so in the statement, kung mahatag siya og negative ion, positive ion nga bonding, automatic na siya ionic bonding. However, for covalent bonds, these are electron. Okay, electron bonding. So that is an example. The electron bonding is an example of covalent bond. Next is the hydrogen bond. Hydrogen attracts and bond to neighboring negative charges. So kung sa statement na ay hydrogen atom, so automatic hydrogen bond na siya. So no need to like kuan gud talaga i-image ning i-memorize tanan. So i-familiarize lang ionic, ion, covalent, electrons, okay, bonding, and hydrogen pod siya nga atom. Okay? So next is, ayan, ito na, pangutan na. Oxygen has blank valence electrons. What do you think is the number of valence electrons found in oxygen? Okay, that is 6. Okay, so nakuha na ako ganihan na reveal. Alright, so, okay. Okay, so nganhi, alright, excuse me. Hello, Ma'am Paige. Ma'am Paige? Yes, Ma'am Paige. Sorry, wala.
Okay lang, ma'am.
Dili ning tawag.
Ang yung review?
Actually, mga na siya almost 150. Pero okay na ingon si Sir Mark, mag-prepared ako, pero okay lang, pwede man ko mag-skip. Ato na lang ko sa focus dyan sa mga recurring questions. Okay lang? Oo.
Sir Greg na po para makakuha po.
Okay. Sige. So, kani siya, di na lang nato siya i-compute, i-familiarize na lang ninyo ang formula. Usually, sa LEPT manggod, ang pangayoon ana, Celsius or Fahrenheit lang. So, kung Celsius ang pangitaon, okay, kung Fahrenheit ang pangitaon, given ang Celsius, use this formula, okay, familiarize this formula. Kasi invert lang man na siya. That's an invert formula lang. Okay, next question, ayan, SI unit. Okay, so usahay, pangutana po ni siya, what is mole? So, tigam nilang ninyo, amount of particle in a substance, mole ang tawag ana. Alright, ayan. It is expressed in Avogadro's number, so that is 0.0. Kung na siya, common na siya, okay? So, familiarize na lang po ninyo, 6.0222140076 times 10 raised to 23. Ayan. Okay, sige. Narita, itatatag mga recurrent questions. Kani siya, significant figures. So, most of you probably malipat, no, how to really count significant figures. So, here we have rules. Okay, tigam nilang ninyo. In counting significant figures, non-zero digits, okay, are considered significant. Any zeros between two significant. Ibig sabihin, kung 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, tanan na nga figure, imo na siyang i-count as significant digits. Okay? And the final zero or trailing zero in the decimal portion only are significant. For example, this one from 0 point, okay, na decimal 5000, or so these are all significant. Okay? However, for kanishang example, these are not significant. Okay? Figures na. Okay? So just familiarize the rule. Okay, another, kasabot na tayo ng physical change. Basta ang property, walay may nagbago, physical change na siya. Okay, ito naman, ano ba? Physical change gihapon, composition stays the same. Ayan, manganese, familiarize ko sa inyo, i-familiarize lang ang murag first 3 level, no, sa atong periodic table. So, manganese, that is Mn. Okay, have pag mayroon tag positive charge, that is positive charge, okay? Mayroon tag that is proton, okay? Pag negative naman, that is electron, neutral, neutron. Okay? Acids make blue litmus paper turn to, familiar mo ani? Okay, balik-balik ni sa mga science nga lecture. Pag ang blue litmus paper, okay, imo na siyang ibutang sa usa ka acid, so it will turn into red. And on the other hand, kung ang red naman ibutang nimo sa usa ka solution and it will turn into blue, okay, that's basic, or that is it has a basic composition. Okay, so ayan. Usually bases are described as slippery and bitter, while acid naman is corrosive and salty. Acidic, sour. Ayan. Okay. Matatag mga. Okay, let's proceed to the physics. Kaning physics pod, gamay lang. Unsa na time na to? 11:37. Sige. A little bit of physics na lang and then tapos na ta. Okay? So, what is SI? What is SI base unit? So, when we talk about SI base unit, these are standard units. Kasi ang usa ka object sa physics manggod, you have to identify is unit of measurement. So, in SI, base units, tigam nilang ni nga mga symbol, name, and base quantity. If we are talking about the time, okay, that is second. Okay, dili na siya R. Ang R manggod ko ano na siya ang anhi manggod sa SI, we identify this specifically talaga. So if the base unit is time, it should be second. Kasi pwede na lang man na siya ma-convert to minutes to R, di ba? And also for length. So tigam nilang ninyo ang mga base quantities. So for example, pangayon ang mass, what is the SI base unit? That is kilogram, and then the symbol is kg. So familiarize na ni siya nga pito. Alright, so next is ito, scientific notation. Alright, so mugawas dyan ni. So at least man lang kasabot ka how to convert scientific notation to standard form, okay, and standard form to scientific notation. So how to convert? So dalira na siya. So again, we have rules. So familiarize these rules, maka-answer ka. So scientific notation is a way, okay, of expressing numbers that are too large or too small. Importante ni siya sa physics and chemistry kasi nga we are quantifying, no? So here, kailangan kasabot ka how to convert for standard form, okay, of numbers to scientific notation. So how? So if it is a positive, okay, number, what you are going to do is to move the decimal left until it is to the right. Okay, so from left to the right. So if this is the standard form, move ka lang. Okay, hantud ko no maadto ka sa first non-zero digit. Okay, nganhi. What is the first non-zero digit? That is the 2. So pag abot nimo sa 2, mo stop na ka, then you will place the decimal point and then you add na this kani siya times 10, tas iha pa kung pila ka nag-move. So kung 6 ka places left ka nga nag-move, so you will write this subscript kani siya. Okay? Kana siya 6. Alright, so mao ra siya how to convert from standard to scientific nga na lang. Okay? How about yung negative? Inga na po, so kindly familiarize na lang later, okay, sa slides kasi mahatag man sad kong copy ani. And then kani siya. Let's have these physical quantities. So in quantifying physical objects, no? So you have to understand or at least lang familiarize what are these physical quantities kasi they are classified into vector and scalar. So ano yung sinasabing vector and scalar? So again, pag scalar, magnitude lang siya, like 1 kilometer, 2 miles. Pero kung naanay direction, that is the time nga mahimo na siyang vector. O, di ba? Dali ra siya mahinumduman. Scalar, magnitude lang siya, walang direction. However, if it's already vector, naana siya direction. Okay, so physical quantity, scalar or vector. Okay, next question. Okay, laws of motion, permi na siya mo gawas pod. So what is the another name for the first law or the Newton's first law? So that is law of inertia. Okay, so ayan. So I have here the description or the laws, no, is stated, okay, in the first, second, and third. So and Newton's first law or another name is the law of inertia states that if a body is at rest. So i-familiarize lang ninyo, okay, dali ra ni siya i-familiarize or i-memorize gamay, di ba? So, pag yung tag first law of inertia, ang body daw ko ng isang object, di ko na siya move or di ko, if it is moving, di ko na siya stop kung walay force acting on it or unbalanced force. Second law naman, niingon nga, acceleration is directly proportional to the net force and inversely proportional to the mass. Okay? So, i-familiarize lang. Third law, for every action, there is always equal but opposite reaction. So, kung ano ni siya, kanang gi-introduce gani sa ato, di ba? Sa high school, sa college. Okay? So, I hope familiar na taani. Nasa na time? 11:42. Okay. Sige, kaya natin to. Next is, ito, tingali pangutanan mo how to compute the distance and displacement. So, ano nga ba yung sinasabing distance and displacement? Tigam nilang, distance is scalar. Okay? Ibig sabihin, imo ra gud na i-add tanan. Okay, distance. For example, here, I have your example, problem, physics teacher walks 4 meters to the right, di ba? To the east. Nag-start na to the east, down, and then nag-west, and then nag-up. Okay, so if we are going to look for the distance, imo ra gud na siya i-add tanan. 4 plus 2 plus 4 plus 2. So pila, di ba? So you have pila na siya 12. Okay? That is distance. Ang imo lang na cover, okay, from one point to another. However, when we talk about displacement, it has something to do now with the direction. Okay? So if you start from here point to the east, 4 meter, that is positive, di ba? Sa Cartesian plane, tanan nga value from north to east, di ba? Or in the first quadrant, na siya positive yun na siya. However, kung muubos ka or mu-west, negative na ang value. So here, let us differentiate the distance and displacement sa kanisya nga situation. So if we are going to identify distance, 12 ang imong value ana kasi you are going to add lang naman the distance. However, for displacement, mag-iba na. Kasi first point to another point to west, 4 na siya, and then going down. So going down means nag-negative siya, so minus 2 kadiha, and then ni west pagod siya, minus another 4, and then plus 2. Okay, kaya pato naman siya sa north. So pila kaha na ang imong displacement. Actually, mobalik la siya into 0 kasi hindi ka naman nag-displace. Same point ka pa rin. Okay, so in identifying distance here, add lang nimo tanan. So from point A to B to C to D, you have 140 meter. 140 meter east, okay? Ayan. Sige. Kanipod average speed, sa speed naman and velocity, at igam nila ni siya nga description sa concept sa speed and velocity, and then the formula. So speed, how fast is an object, and velocity naman the rate at which an object changes its position. So kung mangita kag speed, distance over time lang. Pila ang imong na-cover na distance, ag pila i-divide na siya sa time nga imo po na cover. Okay? Nara na siya, i-total lang ang distance. However, for velocity, displacement na siya. So, magmatter na naman siya sa direction nga ihatag or the given direction, no? Ayan. Ma'am Tian, ikaw ba ang nag-chat-chat? Okay. Sige. Sige, so, limited lang dyan kaya. Okay, let me go back. Ayan. Okay. Naka-exit na ba ko, ma'am? Alright. Medyo
Okay,
loading.
so that's your presentation naman overall. Hindi
Oo.
mo ipagkatanan, no? But we really love
Oo, kasi
time.
science is a vast talaga body of
Yes,
knowledge.
both. Di
So
kaya
at
one
least those
day.
recurring questions ako siyang na-share.
Mm-mm.
Thank you po. Okay.
Okay, so anyway, a recorded version of this will be uploaded to the closed group. So, pwede pa rin nilang ma-review ang meeting for today. So, um, before we before we go, I would like to present to you the certificate of recognition. I will read the citation. Republic of the Philippines, Biliran Province State University, School of Teacher Education, Naval Biliran awards this certificate of recognition to Annaliza A. Amable, a School of Teacher Education faculty for her meritorious and invaluable services, extended as reviewer on the topics under general education during the STED Free BLEPT Webview on September 16, 2021 via Google Meet. Given the 16th day of September 2021, at Biliran Province State University, Naval Biliran Province, Philippines. Signed, Victor C. Cañez Jr., EDD, SUC President 3. Okay, so
Thank
thank you
you.
very much, Mom Annaliza Amable, for sharing your expertise with us today.
Thank
So
you.
let's give a big hand, no? Kay nahalos na cover niya ang mga important parts ng manggawas for the let exam. So this afternoon we will have a review with Sir Greg Siat. So we will use the same link as well. So see you later at 1 p.m. participants, okay? Thank you so much. Have a great day. Enjoy your lunch. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Ma'am Ann.
Thank you, Sad. My God.
Hindi mo mag-host ng host.